Council, would we please rise for a moment of silence, and then Mr. Singer will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. And here comes the clerk to do our roll call.
Could be unanimous.
Mr. Lesby?
Here.
Mr. McEwen?
Here.
Mr. Penn?
Here.
Ms. Tingle Samms?
Here.
Mr. Singer? Mr. Showalter?
Here.
Ms. Tackett?
Here.
Mr. Thompson?
Here.
Thank you, ma'am. All present. We do have a quorum. Next item of business is approval of the minutes of our September the 8th meeting. Motion for approval.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
But I do have a question.
Any discussion?
Yes, sir. On number 6, Parks and Rec, where it says that it was motioned by Council Thompson and second by Councilmember Tackett, I didn't second that. I just wanted to make
Good deal.
that
We
note.
can make that correction.
I don't know who did, but it wasn't me.
Okay.
We can check the film and make that correction. Okay, any other item? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. You see a show of hands that you did receive your check register. Thank you very much. Okay, next we have our public comments. Please adhere to the 4-minute time limit. And Ms. Donna, welcome. You're first up. Now we need you to get recorded.
They want to hear you.
You're not going to get off that easy.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Donna from the Gathering Place Mission. And my reason for being here tonight is very simple. I was going to ask the city if they would consider the Gathering Place for some financial help in the daily operations of what we do. We're assisting our police department. They are dropping lots off to us. We're assisting our courts. We're moving forward to recovery, a recovery plan and center, and we just wanted to be considered and request some financial support from the city for this community effort. And you all to be a part of it.
Donna, did you have a figure in mind?
We were hoping for $15,000 to be considered. And if anyone has questions later, or please come by and see what we do. Our mayor's been there, and he has been serving there, and Nancy, and so we just invite you over to see what we're doing for our community and hope that you'll be a part of it. That's it.
Well, we have to, I'm sure, work with our finance company, with our finance director to see if we can find the money, and then the council, we can bring it back to you for your vote. Donna, thank you for being here, and thank you so much for what you do.
Okay, you're welcome.
Do an outstanding job over there.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Fryman.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'm here to ask for a street closure for the fire prevention parade. It'll be Thursday, October 16th at 7 p.m. I've turned in paperwork to the clerk and the state and have everything back and approved.
Motion for approval.
Motion by Ms. Karen, second by Marvin.
And the times are?
Lineup will be at 6. The parade will start at 7. It's a normal route. It'll start line up over Carly Court area and Military to Main to Broadway, back up Clayton.
Any further comments? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you all.
Thank you, Eddie. And I'm sure it's going to be a good one. Ms. Marlene?
Mayor, council, for the record, Marlene Rutherford. A couple of things. I just want to encourage your all's support tonight of the real and property tax equalization at the .065. And if you choose to go with the second option, to let the people know what you're going to do with that additional revenue besides stick it in the general fund, whether it be to offset the startup costs for recycling or police cars or the tail cameras or something for the police department, but to let the people know what you're going to do with it. The second thing I wanted to talk about is I had some questions about the appeals board proposal, and I guess I need to address these to you, Ms. Tackett, since you're the sponsor. In subsection A, it refers to regulations. What are they, I guess? And then the building inspection appeals board, with not the fire safety standards and the electrical inspection and everything be included, since it's included in the state building code. Then on the appointments, they're for 3 years. And then is that in contradiction to the Article 6 of the Code of Ordinances that refers to a term not being for more than 4 years, but then it references a full term being 4 years. The appointments refers to 5 members, but the initial terms are for 7 members. So I didn't know which one it was. Then the statute requires, the building code statute requires 5 technically qualified persons with professional experience relating to the building industry. Does that need to be included in the ordinance or referenced, the statute reference? And then more importantly is, since this is under an interlocal agreement, does the county get input on the appointments? And how's that going to affect the interlocal agreements?
I'm going to let Andrew Hartley address those regulations that you're talking about.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to ask those questions because that kind of just jumped out at me.
If you could email those to me, I think what we'll do is we'll postpone, because I was trying to follow along.
Here, I'll be
I
glad
don't
to
have
give
the
you a
most
copy.
recent version where we changed it, because we changed it mid-stride to 5 members
Right.
last meeting, and for some reason my version here still says 7, but we changed that.
I'll be glad to give you
I didn't
the-
see anything in here about 4-year terms.
I think it's in the terms in the ordinance is for 3, but the statute or the ordinance in Article 6 makes reference to 3 years, 3-year terms. And then it says a term is 4 years, so I was just confused.
Okay. Well, like I said, if you've got concerns, I'll go over them, but I'd rather not try to hash them out here in the
That's
middle of
fine.
the council meeting. So
That's fine.
I mean, I'll take a look at these and we can push that off if you want.
And I guess that my biggest concern was because of the interlocal agreement
Well,
with the county and the appointments, because I know they have joint appointments for some of the other boards. So,
yeah, and that actually is a good point. I mean, it's not addressed currently in our code of ordinances.
Right.
Well, the administration portion falls under the city, just like
Yeah.
other interlocals fall under the control of the county. And this update is really, really needed because we're having an awful time trying to get people to serve on that board because of it including the code enforcement of what he's in charge of. And the building inspection has come up with the 5 professional people. We'd rather set them aside as a particular board rather than have them deal with tall grass,
Right.
something like
Oh,
that.
I understand
I'd rather,
everything behind
right.
that, yeah.
I will answer a couple of your questions because I think they're easily answered. Where it says technically qualified persons, we do reference members and alternates shall possess the qualifications set forth in 198B070, which is what sets forth the technical requirements of those board members. The regulations are the regulations listed, specifically enumerated in that section.
Are those ordinances, or are they state regulations, or, I didn't know what they were.
I guess we could strike the word regulations, but I think that's a generic term. We could just change it to say each of these sections. We'll straighten that out too. You're right.
That's fine, I just wanted to bring it to your attention, because it was a little confusing.
All good questions, all good questions, because we want this to be very, very open-ended to the public so that they understand what we're doing also. Okay, next is my little section, Proclamation for National Long-Term Care. We had a request come to the office to recognize this, and I think it's very important that we have a proclamation to recognize long care term, or long care. Whereas there are more than 1.6 million individuals living in 16,000 nursing homes and 1 million individuals living in 50,000 board and care assisted living facilities in the United States. And whereas the Federal Nursing Home Reform Act of 1987 guarantees residents their individual rights in order to promote and maintain their dignity and autonomy, and whereas all residents should be aware of the rights so they may be empowered to live with dignity and self-determination, and whereas we wish to honor and celebrate these citizens, to recognize their rich individuality, and to encourage residents and others to be educated about staffing and long-term care. And whereas individuals and groups across the country will be celebrating Residents' Rights Month with the theme, Better Staffing, the Key to Better Care, to emphasize the importance of affirming these rights through facility practices, public policy, and resident-centered decision-making. Now, therefore, I, Everett Varney, Mayor of the City of Georgetown, do hereby proclaim October 2014 as National Long-Term Care Residents' Rights Month in the City of Georgetown, and encourage all citizens to join me in these important observances. Signed this 22nd day of September 2014. It's an awful lot of our people who are in long-term care, and certainly we need to recognize them. They still have their rights, and I know when I visited nursing homes when Nancy was working with the state, I was appalled at some of the conditions that our long-term care residents had to live in, and this needs to be addressed, and therefore we're proclaiming October month. October as the month of recognition. Okay, proclamation recognizing Adult Education Week, September the 22nd through the 28th, 2014. Whereas it is appropriate to promote increasing the educational attainment levels of Kentuckians and encourage qualified residents of Scott County to enroll in free services provided by the Scott County Adult Education Center. Whereas September the 22nd through the 28th, 2014 is National Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. Whereas 2,942 adult residents of Scott County lack a high school or GED diploma based on 2006 and 2010 American Community Survey data, whereas an individual who earns a high school or GED diploma earns an average of $9,300 more per year than a high school dropout. Whereas an individual who earns a high school or GED diploma can enter post-secondary education, thereby increasing employment opportunities and earning potential. Whereas the most effective way to improve the academic success of a child is by improving the educational level of the parent. Whereas individuals without a high school credential are 2 times as likely to be unemployed, 3 times as likely to be in poverty, and 8 times as likely to be incarcerated. Whereas our local economic development educational attainment efforts are incumbent upon a college and career-ready population. Whereas the Scott County Adult Education Center can assist adults in obtaining a National Career Readiness Certificate, earning a GED diploma, and becoming more college and career ready. Therefore, I, Everett Varney, Mayor of Georgetown, do hereby proclaim September the 22nd through the 28th, 2014 as Georgetown, Scott County Adult Education Week in Georgetown, Kentucky. In witness thereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal City of Georgetown to be affixed this 22nd day of September 2014. And we have with us Ms. Combs and several others. And thank you so much for what you do. You know how I feel about education. I'm here in this seat because of education.
She was the former director of Adult Ed forever. Is Barbara O'Hara here or Carol Crawford? They were gonna try to make it. Okay. Well, these are the folks that are out there and have been out there.
Come forward and accept this plaque that we have for you.
Thank you.
And I would prefer that you come up and take pictures.
Director of Adult Ed here in Scott County, would like to thank this council because they have financially supported Adult Ed for many years, and we appreciate
We
that.
participated a couple years in education together, didn't we?
Yes, a few.
Thank you. We also want to share your openness and willingness to help others in different cultures because Mary Sella, she's our education administrator for the GD and Spanish ES folks, and so we really appreciate everybody's support in helping the adults in our program because it does help the families, and that's what we're about. So
No
thank you
doubt
guys
about
very
it.
much.
No doubt about it. Let's see. Okay, we have some very important visitors with us this evening that traveled all the way from Tahara, our sister city, and we'd like to bring them forward. They visited with me this morning in my office. They'll be here this evening, and they'll be headed home tomorrow morning. So,
Was Kelly there to help facilitate?
he was.
Good.
Megan? Oh, here they are. Come forward.
We should probably stand. Should we stand? I think we should stand.
And we also have with us Miss Yuki Cooper, who has been invaluable in our relationship with Tahara. I see some familiar faces as I have been participating in the Sister City relationship in my 12 years in office. And going to Tahara has been such a wonderful, wonderful experience for me. So what I have for you tonight, Mr. Kuroda, I would like to present you with a key to the city for your organization so that anytime you wish to come back to Georgetown, you have a key to unlock any door that might prevent you from coming in the city. We are so glad to have you visit us, and we look forward to your return. I think they're going now to spend the rest of the evening at Galvin's, and then have a safe journey tomorrow on your trip home.
Thank you very much.
TIA,
Okay.
Mr. Okamoto.
Now, they brought me this beautiful happy jacket, happy coat this morning, and I wear this tonight to honor you
あの
and our relationship.
今日は朝持っていただいたハッピーコートを着て、この私たちのこの関係を非常に大切に持っていくことを表すために今日着てきました。
Thank you.
And Kelly McEwen has been invaluable in all my relationship with the city, sister city, and he was with us today in my office, and I certainly want to thank you for participating this year. And they all know him for many years.
私の非常に大事な大事な人で、もう10年間にわたってずっとサポートしてくださいまして、決まったオフィスに来てました。
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
理事長の挨拶前にちょっと TI に簡単に説明したい。I want to just share with the people that are here tonight and that are watching that this group is representing the Tahara International Association, which is a separate nonprofit organization within the sister city in Japan. And so they have each decided with this trip to come on their own to visit Georgetown. They also visited the Friendship City that they have in Princeton, Indiana, where Toyota's Indiana plant is located. So even though they're here with us for a short time, it gives our community and our citizens an opportunity to renew the friendships we have and to kind of plan toward the 25th anniversary of the exchange, which is next year. So we appreciate their coming this year and taking that opportunity. Just last year, TIA, as it's called in short, it became its own standalone nonprofit organization. So the happy coats that you see them wearing represent the organization and its sort of new charge in renewing the friendship with Georgetown. So thank you very much for coming.
If you'll see, you can see the insignia on the back of their happy coat. It's in a kite, and it has strings streaming down from it. They're extremely active in our kite fest, and we enjoy going there and celebrating the kite flying in their country. And again, thank you so much for coming to Georgetown, and have a safe journey home.
Mayor,
and Mr. Okamoto is the new director. All right, since June, Mr. Okamoto is the new director of TIA.
Pictures.
Oh, you want to say thank you to you too?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
ジョージタウンの市長さんはじめ、議会の皆さん、本日はこんな席にお招きいただきまして誠にありがとうございま
I
す。
would like to express my deep gratitude to the mayor and the city council members. Thank you so much for inviting us tonight.
少し緊張しておりますが、
I'm very nervous now.
こういう席に来るのは初めてなので、
This is my first time to be here, like such a formal place.
でこんな鍵をまたいただきましたので、来年、ジョージタウン市と田原市はシスターシティの25周年シルバー、はい、になりますので、田原国際交流協会としてはこの鍵を持って来年25周年の市民交流のために、ジョージタウンに帰ってきたいと思います。
Next year, we Tahara and Georgetown will celebrate 25th anniversary of sister city relationship. The Tahara International Association want to come back, return to Georgetown with this key in their hand. Return here next year to celebrate our wonderful relationship.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Put the council in there. I'll go down and have my coat mixed in with the others.
I guess.
You need to
Yeah, mine is.
Stand on your shoulder. Can I?
You can sit right there. Come on, buddy. You sure can.
buddy.
Yeah.
Dan, give me your iPad and I'll
It's pretty exciting.
use the big camera and I'll.
Love taking pictures.
Ah. We can take it.
That would be neat, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pop up there, Mark, make it look shorter. He did, didn't he?
Yeah, he would suck that chest in, push it out there.
You don't have to.
Come on, my TikToks.
Naturally nice guy.
Oh, yeah. Get a lot more muscular for me, some of that fat off of me.
Yeah, well, I just don't.
Would you ever go again?
Yeah, probably would. Yeah, probably. Okay.
That gives you a small sense of what our relationship with Tahara is like. Going there, it's just a wonderful place to visit. They make you feel so welcome, and of course, holding a political position is held in much higher esteem there than it is here in this country. I can tell you that. Okay. All right. City Attorney and City Clerk, we have some second.
Trick or treat.
Oh, I'm sorry, trick or treat.
Make a motion.
Be on Friday, October the 31st.
I second that.
Halloween, right?
Yeah.
That is Halloween, when we've usually observed Halloween on Halloween.
Anytime we can.
Anytime we can. We have second motion.
Second.
Do we have a time?
6 days.
It's 6 to 8 always.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Tell my daughter. Thank you very much. Now, informational technology. We have our strategic plan, which quite a few of you, I'm sure, read about in the graphic this past weekend. Andrew has been working awfully hard, along with Michael from Sophisticity, and we have nothing but plus to tell you here tonight. No negatives. Andrew, I turn it over to you, and thank you for all you've done on this. My attorney / IT brain.
Well, it's different being down here, I'll tell you that.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, sorry, my name's...
4 minutes.
4 minutes. 4 minutes.
No, that was under comment.
Multiply that by 10 and we'll be all right. Okay, yeah. So I'm here to talk to you about our IT situation. When I was 8 years old, my parents bought me a Nintendo, 1985. And I spent,
Yeah, you got everyone counting.
I spent the entire Christmas break playing to get to that last level, you know, Bowser's Castle. And I got stuck on this one part. I could not get past it. I spent days and finally made it past it, and there was Bowser. And what do you think happened? The game froze.
No.
Everything stopped. My heart stopped. There's only one thing you could do when you're 8 years old, and that's hit the reset button. And folks, that's what we've had to do since Wednesday. As you know, Our IT specialist, Jennifer Kieras, resigned. In the meantime, in the past 5 days, the directors regrouped. We wanted to reassess where we were. Our Sophisticity folks really stepped up their game. Michael especially stayed very late and worked very hard. What we found is that we are secure and we are in much better shape than we thought we were. And the things that I want you to walk away from today are that we have made significant progress, that we have few critical issues remaining, that we have a plan to fix those critical issues, that we are shooting for a greatly simplified network that will result in reduced IT staffing needs. We have significant upgrades ready to roll out very soon. We expect a substantial cost savings from those upgrades. We are working on a long-term plan, and we ask you to stay the course. So, I'm going to go over what I would like to present you as sort of a where we were, where we are now, and where we're headed. A year ago, our security needs were very high, and our security was very poor. Physical security was non-existent. We had the doors weren't locked to the server room or to the IT room. Our servers and our data was backed up randomly on tapes, if at all. We had computers full of viruses that were crashing our network. Our GeorgetownKY.gov domain was being spoofed and hacked, and what spoofed means is that people from around the world were pretending to be us for malicious purposes. We had 30-plus Windows XP machines in operation in various departments. We have outdated web filters that would bottleneck our network. We had security updates installed. Security updates were not installed on servers or computers. We had failing network switches, and we did not have secure profiles for our users on our workstation. Now, of course, we've got the doors locked. Our servers and our data are backed up in the cloud nightly. We have antivirus, anti-spam installed on every PC and every server. Our .gov domain is secure and has not been hacked or spoofed. All or most all of the unsupported XP machines have been replaced. We have a new sonic wall ready to install. I'll go a little bit later into what a sonic wall is. Our sensitive data has been moved off local servers into the cloud. Software and server maintenance and updates is regularly scheduled and regularly implemented automatically and during the night. The network is monitored by our third-party consultant, Sophisticity, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And that means if our network goes down, there's an alert, and they are immediately notified, and someone is immediately dispatched to fix the problem. We have some new network switches that we are still working to install, but that will solve our issues with faulty switches that are causing our networks to go down. And we have, very importantly, Active Directory security profiles loaded. It may be a bunch of jargon, but basically it means everybody can log into their computer and see their files securely. And other people who do not have access cannot. In the areas of productivity, we have new finance and accounting software. We have new payroll software. We have new operations management software that will work for building inspection, code enforcement, public works, and the engineer's office. We have tablets that allow our building inspectors to go and do their work in real time in the field. So they don't have to go out, write it all down, and come back and enter it in. It's on the fly, it's right there. We have new fire inspection software and tablets for those folks. We have a full Microsoft Office professional suite for 80 users. That includes multiple departments. We have exchange-based email and shared calendars. We have remote access to our files and email for teleworking, and that is a improving process. It is great now, but it's about to get a lot better. All of our slow and obsolete computers have been replaced or have a plan for immediate replacement. And now all of our office have scanning and PDF capability. Our network infrastructure has been completely mapped. All the wiring in this building has been traced and labeled. Time clocks and computer-based time logging has been implemented in all departments. Remote support has been enabled for our third-party consultants. So if something goes wrong with your computer, they can log in from Georgia directly to your computer and make the fixes that they need to make. They've implemented a trouble ticket system that allows users to submit tickets with problems, and they're assigned a priority, and we can see that list in real time and modify it if necessary. And traffic bottlenecks that were slowing down our network have been identified. We have a new website, which we're quite proud of. It is admittedly a work in progress. Content management is something that we're going to be working on in the immediate future. We have to develop content, and that takes time. But we have a very usable website, and again, we're very proud of it. www.georgetownky.gov. Sophisticity. I want to take the time to remind you of all the services that Sophisticity offers. Of course, they designed our new website and implemented it and hosted it. Offsite data backup is handled for City Hall, Fire, Parks, and Planning and Zoning by Sophisticity, and that has been fully implemented. Email and shared calendars for those departments, fully implemented. Help desk 7 days a week for those departments, fully implemented. Vendor management for those departments, fully implemented. Server, desktop, and mobile management for all departments, fully implemented. Monitoring and alerts. Office 365 suite, and document management, which is currently being scheduled for training. And what that means is all of our files right now are hosted in a server in the basement. And those will all be moved into the cloud. And what that does is anywhere on any device that has an internet connection, we can access those files. We can share those files. They're secure, and they're updated, and they are backed up. So, we have 3 what I'm going to call priority projects. And priority project 1 is our PT Win legacy data. PT Win was the old building inspection software. We went live on the new building inspection software several months ago, but that go live was only for building inspections initiated from that point forward. What we have is many, if not hundreds, of building inspections that are open, and because the PT Win server has been down, they have zero access to that, and they've been getting quite a backlog. I'm happy to report we brought the PT Win server back up. We've pulled the data. We're in the process of querying the data and sending it to GovQA so that it can be incorporated into the new system. We estimate 3 to 4 weeks on that process. We're hoping to give building inspections some temporary access to do updates, and we will pick a date and do a new go live. Priority project number 2, bandwidth upgrade. Raise your hands and be honest if you understand what I say when I mean that the city has bandwidth issues. All right, good. I'm about to show you what bandwidth issues mean for this city. Without cracking somebody in the skull.
Is Mario involved?
Might be.
I was hoping for
Do you want to do that here, man?
I hope we don't freeze. Something to do with that hinge.
Okay.
Oh, I can see now. I'm going to understand all that.
You are. You're going to understand every bit of it.
Yay.
Okay, folks. These are our city departments: human resources, legal, finance, and there's a whole host of departments here. Each of those is represented by a computer. Our city network is servers, switches, wires, and routers. That's basically what a network is. And when we want to pull a file or send an email, the old school was, if I wanted to send Megan an email in Human Resources, I would send it to the basement, and it would get routed, and it would get sent to the Exchange server and back to Megan. Didn't have to go to the internet. Now, everything is over here on the internet. Our email server is on the internet, it's in the cloud. Our accounting server is in the cloud. Our payroll server is in the cloud. Our operations management server is in the cloud. Our tax server is in the cloud. Our file server will soon be in the cloud. And of course, the World Wide Web is out there. So what has to happen when I want to send an email to Megan is that it has to go to our servers, our routers, our wires, our switches, and then through a small tube to our ISP, our Internet Service Provider. That Internet Service Provider sends it all over the country through phone lines, through satellite, through what have you, to another ISP, where it gets routed to that email server, and then it turns around and it gets routed back through the same or a different route, but it ultimately ends up right there. So what that means is, if this pipe is too small, and all of these people are trying to send data back and forth at the same time, guess what happens?
Crash.
It crashes. It goes really slow, and we get unproductive. Right now, we have approximately 4 megabytes of bandwidth through a T3 connection. We have been working with Time Warner to get a much greater data package for the various departments. Each of the buildings has to have its own dedicated connection because they're not connected through us. So even if this stuff wasn't hosted in the cloud, when Fire wants to communicate with us, they still have to go through their ISP to get to us. That's why it's so crucial that we get all of these pipes upgraded. And I'm here to tell you folks that not only are we going to have better service, it's going to be significantly less expensive. And as a result of being better, we're going to be able to host our phones on it as well. Between the internet and the phones, I think we're looking at saving $3,000 to $4,000 a month in cost, and getting 5 times the speed that we're getting now, if not more. And what that's going to do is it's going to open up a whole world of things that we can do as a city, services that we can offer. So I hope, I spoke to the Time Warner representative today who says that they're going to give us plans and options, and I hope to bring that back to you on the next council meeting. Does anybody have any questions about what bandwidth means? You all understand better what I mean when I say we have a bandwidth issue.
We do. The pipes to the water company.
Got it.
When does our contract with Time Warner cable franchise come up?
Franchise?
Yeah, our franchise agreement with Time Warner.
That's a complicated question, because it's not going to be a franchise with Time Warner anymore. It's going to be a franchise with Comcast or its offshoot, Spinco, and I'm not making that up. What's important for you to know is we negotiate our franchise through a regional cable commission who is working on getting us the best deal possible. But the thing about cable is cable and internet aren't the same thing. Even though they come from the cable company, we don't regulate internet. A lot of people don't know that. We don't have the authority to regulate internet. So I don't really expect any great gifts from them. But they have provided us with a very appealing package, which I hope to present to you October 13th. Priority project number 3.
Hey, Andrew, can I ask a quick question?
Please.
What you're presenting to us, is this something that I guess evolved in the past few days since
Yes.
our director has left?
Some of it yes, some of it no. Why don't you let me finish the whole thing and then we'll go to questions? How about that? All right.
He's on script, David.
Planning and zoning. We've been hearing for several months now that planning and zoning has been a little bit of an issue for the city. I want to try to the best of my ability to clarify that statement. There are several ways that the city is tied into planning and zoning. First and foremost, there is a replicated GIS web server in our basement. Currently, it is turned off. But what that means is when they had their award-winning GIS application, including Plat Finder, when the public accessed that database, it went through a pipe down to our network, through our routers and our switches, and it bottlenecked our network because it is an extremely data-intensive application. We're talking maps that have scales that you have to constantly update. It is extremely data-intensive, and even a dedicated network would struggle under it. They also have a direct fiber connection through a wall in our basement under the street to the PVA's office. And they still access their data to the PVA, which is a much smaller data set, through the city. Our previous IT director was of the opinion that we could not proceed with our bandwidth upgrade until we fixed that, till we got P&Z offloaded. And there's quite a few steps that need to happen to get P&Z, quote, offloaded. I have spoken to Sophisticity, I have spoken to Time Warner, and I've also spoken to the former IT director, Scott, who was nice enough to give us 4 hours of his time on Friday to help us go over every port, every wire, every switch, every router in that basement, so that we have a much better understanding of what's down there. And we're all of the opinion that we can go ahead with our Time Warner upgrade without affecting that connection. It's my hope that they will go ahead. They still need to and are progressing with that disconnect, but I'm confident that we can move forward. There's a possibility that we can route that stuff through the basement and not have it affect our network. That's really my hope, because it saves everybody time and money and energy. Okay, so our servers. Right now we have 9 servers down in that basement. Not all of them are on. We have our domain server, which is what controls everybody's access to our network and makes them secure. That's a crucial server that cannot go away. We have a file server, which is very old. It's being moved. The plan is to move it to the cloud. Again, so that's one server that disappears. We have 2, because they're so old that it takes 2 of them. We have 2 old finance system servers, AS400s. These things are ancient. We have the plan to turn those off very, very soon, within weeks. We have 2 old building inspection servers, because they are so old that they have to have 2. And that's even older than the finance software. We have, again, pulled the data, and we're hoping to turn the switch off on that very, very soon. We have the fire station server, which is older. It controls some of the applications that they do. We have, of course, the GIS replication server, which we hope can be moved or eliminated. And we have our Exchange server, which is now inactive because all of our email is hosted in the cloud. So we are now using that as a spare in case. So if you were keeping up, that means that we will go from 9 servers to 2. And the plan is to take those 2 servers and do what's called virtualize them, which means they will be put on one machine and split by a software into 2. And virtualization with the right server allows us to add servers in the future. But what it really does is it reduces our load, our responsibility, from 9 servers down to 1, and that is a tremendous thing. Our network hardware. Current network hardware has the old and bottlenecked Barracuda web filter, our main network router, the router that connects the PVA to P&Z. We have 3 battery backups. It's actually one unit with 3 batteries. It has reached or is reaching its shelf life. Batteries don't last forever. And we have our 4 new Cisco switches. So the plan changes. We're going to bring in this Sonic Wall, which is a combination router / web filter. It's a very advanced piece of equipment that will replace 2 other pieces. We're having some configuration issues, and we will most likely have to get the vendor to come help us with that. So getting rid of the P&Z PVA router or assigning that maintenance and management to someone else means we can get rid of that as well. And having fewer servers means we can replace 3 uninterruptible power supplies, the batteries, with 1 at a major cost savings. So the future is a much smaller network footprint, less maintenance, energy, maintenance, and replacement savings. Our phone system is awful. And you all know it. And you all know it. Because every time you try to call us, you're not sure, am I going to get through today or am I not going to get through today? We have a faulty T1 card, and what that means is there's a really old motherboard basically down there that controls which things go where and get routed. It's buggy. It's not supported. It's very costly to maintain. You can't even make simple number changes without calling tech support and getting hit with a $300 bill. Our handsets are not easily replaced, probably talking about eBay, honestly. And the service is very expensive. It's $10,000 a year, folks. I'm sorry, $10,000 a month. Let me restate that. The phone service is $10,000 a month. And that includes the lease on the phones, and it includes the connections, and it includes charges for calls. I believe we can reduce that number by $3,000 or $4,000 a month at minimum when you roll it in with our cable, with our internet. And the advantage, we hope to go with what's called a voice over IP system. We're shooting for this winter sometime. But what that means is we will lease the phones or buy them. They're not expensive at all. We will run them over our local IP network, or we will pay someone to host an IP network. We will have full control over those phones, over how they're routed. It will be controlled by software, easily reassigned. It will be efficient. And we can connect to every department that wants to sign on. And the more departments that sign on, the better the cost savings you realize. You can connect to every person in there by a 4-digit number. It's going to be geared towards public accessibility. When the public calls, they won't get a directory that doesn't work most of the time, not even half the time. And like I said, there's a major opportunity for cost savings. As I said before, our files are currently all stored on servers in the basement. Those servers are very quickly running out of physical space. You can only access it if you're on the network or if you remotely log into your computer, which is nice but not very convenient. If the server's down, you got no files. If the network is down, you got no files, no matter where you are. And those things happen. So Sophisticity, part of the Sophisticity package is a program called SharePoint, which I believe might be a Microsoft product. But all files are stored and encrypted in the cloud, accessible anywhere from any device that has an internet connection. We're talking your phone, your tablet, your PC, your iPad, what have you. It's just like our stuff now. It's governed by security profiles. So that means that only people with the username and passwords can access it. It's real-time backup. We can share from one user to another, and we can also set up individual accounts. We can set up profiles for all the council members so that any council member can log on to this server with a secure password and username and get whatever files that you need. We can set you up with ordinances, we can set you up with council packets, we can set you up with agendas. we can communicate to you securely through that method, and you will have access to those things at all times. Sophisticity is also attempting to roll out a new pilot program which will bring tablets to all council members. It will be an additional charge, and I don't know what that is. It's an exciting thing because it would enable all of you to be, as long as you've got that tablet with you or you've got a PC or whatever, to have access to what you need in real time. So we're very excited about that. That's going to a long-term project. Our operations management software, and I apologize, I know this is going on forever, but we're getting close. Felt that this was very important that you all hear this, and you want to know why? Because you've been asking for it for a year and a half now, and I'm here. I'm hoping I'm giving it to you. Our operations management software, that would be GovQA, is currently in deployment. It's a cloud-based system for handling building inspection, work orders, and code enforcement actions. We hope that the future holds that all work is tied to GIS addresses. So when someone gets dispatched, they know exactly where to go. It can be pinpointed to an exact location. It can be placed on a map. All the work orders will be assignable to various city employees, can be tracked by multiple directors, and citizens can submit work orders and track their progress online through a computer, through an app on their phone. Any device that has an internet connection will be able to see the progress of the work order that they submitted, including whether anybody read it, whether it's been assigned, who it's been assigned to, exactly where it's located, what the ETA is. Now, folks, we've got a lot of training to do on a program like that. That's not something that gets rolled out overnight, and it's going to happen in phases. I know Kyle is working on designing all of the forms that will be a part of that system that the users will fill in, and we have to consult with all our department directors to make sure that it has all of the data that it needs to have. And you know, there's going to be a bug process, but we're very excited about that, and we hope to have this citizen portal open sometime early next year. I don't know if that may not be realistic, but that's the hope. The audio-video recording in this room, it's about as good as our phone system. It works some days, doesn't work the other, and you have no way of knowing whether it's going to work or whether it's not going to work. You think it's working, you find out the next day it isn't. And people ask questions. Well, that was a really sensitive council meeting. Why didn't that get recorded? Well, we don't know. We know that it's a piece of junk equipment. It's 20 years old. It needs to be replaced. And we know that we have options. So the options are you replace the entire system. You can do a really expensive system. You can do a not so expensive system. We can hire a third-party recording service, which can be a really expensive third-party recording service or a not so expensive third-party recording service. And I'm going to recommend that we immediately seek quotes for both of those so that we can bring them back to you and you all can make a decision. But one thing I know we can't do is keep relying on what we've got. And I don't think there's much hope for this equipment because it's not compatible with any modern technology. And the folks at the cable company don't like us at all. I mean, they don't like us. And folks, I grew up in Winchester, and Winchester takes their public access very, very seriously. They put on their own programming. They have multimedia, live council, interactive segments. It's fantastic. It's a lot of work, and it's probably a lot of money. But it's doable. And it's not doable with what we got. So some future projects that are not as high of a priority, but we need to do them. We need to rewire City Hall, and we need to rewire the other buildings as well. And that's not really, I don't believe that's all that expensive of a project. What that is a very time-consuming project. And that's something that we're going to have to reach out into the community and try to find some support from the college or from some eager young students or graduates to try to help us with. But we know we need to rewire this building. We want to implement what's called dynamic host control protocol, and you all probably don't really care what that is. All I'm gonna say is that it makes our network much more efficient and easily managed. It basically, instead of you having to give every computer an address, a street address, it's as though it exists sort of in a storm, and the server can instantly pick and point to what computer it wants and assign it an IP address. That eliminates conflicts. It eliminates not knowing what computer is what, because it's all automatically assigned. And this, again, folks, is not difficult. If we trained our employees, we could have them all log into their computers and make a few tweaks and get this done. It's time consuming. That's something we hope to do soon. I want each and every one of you to stop using Yahoo and Google and Gmail and Hotmail for your city council and city business. And here's why. You may not know it, but it's all subject to open records. And you don't want to tie your personal address to your business. It's not secure. So it's time for you all to come on to Sophisticity as users. And I believe just for email, you don't have to be full users. You can be what they call minor users. I can't remember the terminology. But that's something that we really want to do for you all, and it's not that hard. You can, if you have a computer, you can have an email address from georgetownky.gov, and wouldn't you rather have Connie Tackett
Absolutely.
at georgetownky.gov? All right, so coming to the end, our recommendations to you all. I know we've had a lot of talk, and there's been a lot of press coverage about our IT position, about how we got where we were going to get. Based on what we've learned over the weekend, and I don't mean we just kind of stumbled into it. I mean, like, we really buckled down and talked to a whole bunch of folks who know what they're talking about. Our network and our situation is not as bad as we thought it was. And we're going to recommend that you keep the one position rather than having a manager and a staff person, although that was Sophistity's recommendation. Sophistity's recommendation was a IT director and a full-time network engineer. We're recommending instead that you take the IT specialist, grade 9, non-exempt position, and you bump it up to a engineer, a network engineer, grade 10 exempt position. And folks, we think that we can do that with basically no cost increase, or a very small cost increase. The time that the engineer was spending, that the specialist was spending in overtime, was adding another $6,000 on. I mean, there's just, it's hours and hours worth of work. But you're not going to get somebody to come in here to agree to be full-time exempt without a higher salary and a higher position. So that's what we're recommending. We don't have any kind of MOs. We don't have any kind of ordinances here, because this is just about show and tell right now. I recommend that we continue with our Sophisticity contract, at least through the end of the contract. Now, I heard it through the grapevine. I heard it directly from them that there are a lot of folks out there who want to know what NetGain has to offer. I'm here to tell you that I talked to NetGain, and I had them send me over a list of what they do and what they provide, and you can put it side by side with Sophisticity, and it's the same package, folks. And we don't have a formal price quote, but I have an estimate, and it's the same price. I mean, we're getting our money's worth, and we wouldn't get additional, in my opinion, from going with a different company. We're locked in for 6 months. Yeah, I'm sure we could get out of it. For what we're getting, which is a managed IT support package, we're getting our money's worth and more, and we got 6 months of a network engineer, which brings me to my next point. Michael's contract expires at the end of this month. We will no longer have a full-time network engineer provided by Sophisticity, we recommend that we extend that contract at least a month. It's going to cost $7,000 a month until we can hire a new IT director. Michael, right here, Michael Martin he's fantastic. He's a genius. He knows our network inside and out. He has been working with me to try to identify weaknesses and potentials, and it's my hope that you all will agree to keep him here at least one more month. Parks and Planning and Zoning. Their issue is they're supported by Sophisticity, but they don't have boots on the ground that really understand the fundamentals of their networks. And I'm here to tell you folks that Parks has a very complicated network. Multiple locations, multiple softwares that are not necessarily something covered by Sophisticity. Sensitive data, things that have to be protected. They need to train a staff member to be the liaison to Sophisticity. It would be better if they would hire someone with that technical expertise, but I know budgets are tight, so they need to send someone to training. And Planning and Zoning needs to do the exact same thing for the exact same reasons. We're going to ask council to approve procurement of our new ISP for our bandwidth upgrade. I think once we show you the numbers, it's going to be a no-brainer, folks. It is a 3-year commitment, 36 months. There is currently, at least in the proposals that I've seen, a 12-month no early termination fee provision. So if we get a couple months in and we don't like it, no early termination fee. And council should consider options for a phone system replacement, which we hope to bring to you very soon. The last thing I want to do is to give you the City of Georgetown Information Technology Master Plan, which is a 1-page document which you can reference at any time. It has every outstanding issue that we have to tackle, some issues and comments that we're running into, status of when we hope to have it done, and that's it. And I'm done. And I'll sit down and shut up.
Good job.
So, he'll get it anyway. But I will make him submit me an open records request. So,
Probably does.
Tapped in on a computer somehow.
this is a copy of the proposal that we got from Time Warner, just to show you that we indeed do have it. It's been a little while since we've got it, so they got to make sure that it's still good. The gentleman told me today that it should probably still be good and maybe even better. So, questions?
I'm a little older. Do you have any Rubik's Cube references?
Sure. No. I once saw a guy do a Rubik's Cube in 15 seconds flat. I couldn't do it in 30 days flat. I couldn't. You know, the only way I could do. I do have a good Rubik's Cube story. The only way I've ever completed a Rubik's Cube was to peel the stickers off and rearrange them, and it worked.
That'd be like unplugging the switches in the basement.
It would be.
Okay.
David, you fire away with your question you have. Over
Well, you know, the thing that we're probably all sitting here thinking is it wasn't that long ago the sky was falling. And, you know, it does seem like that things have gone from pretty extremely bad to like now there's some light at the end of the tunnel perhaps. And I hope that's the case. I mean, we certainly have a lot of faith in you, and we have a lot of faith in the administration in general. And I don't mean to speak for everybody. But you know, I can kind of sense what we're probably all, you know, kind of thinking. And I think I've seen some shaking
Get it out,
heads.
David.
I mean, I'm not here to be negative at all. I think coming in here tonight, I was leaning towards bringing in somebody like a Net Gain. I mean, I thought we were in a crisis situation. I mean, what
So
else?
did we.
What else could we think? You know.
Yeah.
What we've been told.
And at least in my mind, NetGain has some local presence. You know, they've got people who live here in the community. They help the police department. They help local banks. They help other municipalities. So I did have some faith in NetGain, and I think that was probably a direction that at least coming in, I was willing to go. But after hearing what you have to say, and obviously the work that you and everyone else has probably put into this, I'm willing to follow the lead, I think, and see where we go. I mean, this is an area that none of us are experts on, and you all aren't experts either, I guess. But you've learned a lot here in the past few days. Apparently, Michael is that expert, and it sounds like you've got a lot of faith and trust in him and his ability.
And in Sophisticity as a company.
Yeah.
Because I worked with them, and I have met with the president of the company, and he's another genius. And he believes in his company, he believes in his product, and he believes in the city of Georgetown, which is their largest client in Kentucky. And they wouldn't have given us 6 months of a network engineer if they didn't believe in us.
Yeah.
I probably communicate with Sophisticity at least 5 times a week with their higher management, with the tech support folks. And that was before any of this. I've been in contact with them because I want to know what we're getting is worth it, and I'm here to tell you that it is.
Okay.
I'm glad to hear that you've gone from the thought of 1 or 2, 3 people in that department back to 1 person, though. Because I wasn't going to support adding extra help onto it personally.
Well, we hire an IT professional to tell us the status of our network and what that person needs to run a department. But professional minds can differ. And I can't go in there and make the call myself, so I didn't. I've talked to some other folks who are familiar with our network, and they think we can do it. So I think what we're recommending is that we stay the course for at least 6 months. We see how we get by with a new hire and our Sophisticity contract without a full-time network engineer. But don't get me wrong, we'll still have tech support, and we will still have, if necessary, on-site engineer. We will still have that. If Michael is needed for a project, they will send him. But we also have our remote support that is fantastic, and I'm confident that we can make it happen. I'll readily admit that we are on the low end of the scale as far as boots on the ground. We have comparisons with other cities. Some of them that are similar size to us have 6 people on staff. Some of them have just an IT in the box or a net gain. Some of them have 1 manager and net gain or Sophisticity. Some of them have 2, a manager and engineer. Folks, I don't know. I don't know what's right. I just know that we will do our best to make it happen, and if we, in our professional judgment, don't think it's working, we're going to come back to you, and we're going to say it's not working, and here's why. But what I hope we can do is, once and for all, squash the prove it concept. We need help. The sky is falling, and you say to us, prove it. If we ever get into that situation, believe me, we'll prove it. But we're not there right now.
You've done more in, I think, the decision to, even though it was brought upon herself to change and not be here anymore, I think was a positive for the city, and I don't have a problem saying it.
I don't either.
And so I'm glad it worked out that way.
I think it was the right decision for her, too. I think I can't speak for her, but...
And maybe both entities are better served for that. And so, but, because you've done more work in a less than a week's time to get us what we've asked for a year. And my suggestion with this to the council is to extend Michael's contract and let him stay, because his brain power has come to this, and it seems like the obstacle that was in the way was out of his way, that he has been able to work and freely generate to get us so far so fast. If we had had that 9 months ago, we would have already been past all this. So my suggestion is to the council is because extending it $7,000 is cheaper than hiring somebody else at this point in time, and then they have to start all over with it. So I support I'll make it a motion to extend the contract to have the engineer here from, thank you, and keep them here and do extend his contract for probably the next next.
Michael is extremely familiar with what we have, and that's certainly a plus rather than bringing in an outside.
Yeah, I would start with 2 months at this point in time, and then bring the report, the update, just like you've done this, bring it back to us, and then let us go with another 2 months and do it like that.
I think 2 months is the appropriate time frame because it's probably going to take us that long to do a search for another employee. So
And I'd be very
yes.
careful with the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were led down from day one, a path that wasn't accurate. There was some facts to it, but it wasn't accurate.
Again, I
Well,
think
you never know, Karen. You get extremely outstanding credentials. You put them before an interviewing board who hopefully knew somewhat. We have directors who are pretty good at IT, and we have two of them for sure right here in Jeb and Robert. And the recommendation comes to that person. All you can do is hire and hope it works out for the best. And your hires don't always do
We
that.
have made a long stride since then.
Absolutely.
And
The stride came actually when we hired the help
right.
come along. So, but that's gone and done and
Water
over
on the
with
bridge.
at this point in time, because this is very positive, and this positive has come in a very quick period of time. So at the rate they've gone, in a week or less, give the young man 2 months, and oh my gosh, we'll have
Well, you
Wi-Fi
can see,
for everybody.
You can see your list there that we have plans to roll out quite a few things this fall.
Yes.
And I mean to stand by that, and I'm going to personally make sure that we're working towards that every single day.
And I also appreciate that you all brought back Scott Kinley, because she threw Scott under the bus, and Scott did the very best he could do while he was here.
He did. And I want to say this. Everybody does things in the professional IT world differently. And Scott did things very differently. But guess what? So did Jennifer.
Right.
And I think it's a natural tendency of IT people to say, if you're not doing it my way, you're not doing it the right way.
Yeah.
And I think we've learned our lesson. And that's why there's going to have to be oversight. Whether it's a person or a board or whatever. But we're going to have this kind of check-in, if you will, this reanalysis every quarter or every month or whatever we have to do to make sure that we're getting an accurate picture. And I'm just glad that we had people who were dedicated. I have to give a couple shout-outs to Jeb Warner and Captain Swanigan, who came in the moment Jen submitted her resignation and helped to quell the panic, if you will. And those two folks have a lot of tech expertise themselves. Jeb manages a network that the likes of which I've never seen in a building the size of a concession stand. The folks at the police department have their stuff together. So when Captain Swanigan tells me something ain't right or this is the way we ought to do it, I listen. And I'm very appreciative to them. And if y'all don't have any more questions, I'm going to sit down because I got to start reading ordinances.
With the kind of directors that we have,
I've got plenty.
the situation that we were faced with on Wednesday at the point of the resignation, within an hour, everything was covered. Everything was covered. And I was at the football game on Friday night, and I got this phone call from a very rejuvenated Andrew. They had spent the last 4.5 hours checking out every wire in the basement, and what a relief he had in his voice.
And I also want to say that Sophisticity, within an hour, had all of the administrator accounts changed, all the passwords changed, the network locked down, just in case. Just in case.
And I want to say thank you for your presentation tonight.
Thank you for
Mayor,
the opportunity to give it.
I've got a couple questions, Mayor.
Go ahead, Mark.
Didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. You go ahead. No problem.
At the present time, and you made reference to it just a few minutes ago, at the present time, it's the cost is about $7,000 per month, roughly.
With a $7,000 a month credit.
Okay.
So we get billed $7,000, but there's credit for $7,000 for 6 months.
Okay, but if, and this is an if because I don't know how everybody else feels at this point, but if you went with a company full-time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, around the clock, what would that cost be? When you were saying that you've talked to, you got a net quote, or I'm sorry, you talked to net gain and you got a rough price on what that cost would be.
I promised the gentleman that I would not hold them to any numbers.
Well,
but I'll tell you the conversation we had. I said, we got 80 users, we got 4 servers, which is an underestimate because we really got more at this point. And I told him what we got from Sophisticity. And at first he said, well, I think you're overpaying. And then when he came back with the price, it was basically the same price, $10,000 a month.
10,000 a month?
Now, like I said, I can't hold him to that. We can't hold him to that. He can't hold us to that. But that was, he did some quick figuring based on 80 users, and they go price by servers. So 80 users and 4 servers was getting them to $10,000 a month.
And if we had that same conversation with the current vendor, are we looking at about the same dollar amount?
Well, that's what we're at right now. I think it's 11, but what is it? Yeah, and that's another thing. Part of that 11,000, what is it, $1,300 a month, is a payment directly to Microsoft for our Office 365. It's hosted and maintained by Sophisticity, but we technically own it. I don't know if that comes with the net gain. I didn't ask that question, but there's a possibility that it does.
Going back, another question I had was you were talking about potential savings down the road when you were mentioning your priority projects, and then you also mentioned the phone system.
Mm-hmm.
When do we look, I mean, how far down the road are we looking at
Weeks.
before we start to see those savings?
Weeks.
Is it when this is
Let me tell you, I have a few numbers put together here. Again, what we don't have, and we should have, is a count of the number of phones that we have and the number of phone lines that we have. I learned today they're not the same thing. You can have 20 lines and 80 phones. And that's probably not a good idea. But that's what I heard from the Time Warner folks was they think, in speaking with Jennifer, that we think we have 20 phone lines. And the package that we would get from Time Warner is $30 per line per month. Multiply that, that's $600 a month. We're paying $9,000 right now. And that, of course, we'd have to factor in the equipment. Right now, we're leasing our phones for $550 a month. We can buy a new phone for $100. In a year's time, you've made that up. So, conservative estimates, based on the figures that we know, I mean, you're looking at you could be possibly looking at a $5,000 a month savings. And the plan is to immediately roll in new internet service. The new internet service, currently we're paying, I had it split out, but I must have picked up the wrong sheet. Give me 1 second, I'll see if I've got it in here. I had it split out. We're paying, you want to do some quick adding? $351.99, because we have internet contracts with a different building, so we have to add them all together. $526.38, $40.24. That's how much we're paying a month right now in internet. $918 a month in internet. We're paying $3,957.57 plus $4,352.16 plus $551.01 in phone costs. $8,860. The new plan, which would be Fire Station 3, Recycling Center, Fire Station 1, EMS, Fire Station 2, Cemetery, Public Works, City Hall. For Fire Fire 123, recycling, cemetery, internet $521.89 a month. So $829.89 a month at Public Works. It's a much bigger line because it uses more data and they got more people. And City Hall, which hosts all of the servers and so forth, gets a much better connection, and it would be $1,214.95 a month. That's $4,645.29 a month. That's considerably more than we're paying now for internet service. There's no question about it. But yes, that includes, well, here's what I did, and I don't have here in front of me. You got to add the $600 a month, or whatever that number is. If we have 20 lines, then it's going to be $600 extra a month. So you're looking at $5,200 a month, compared to $9,779.35 a month. So what I'm saying is the broadband contract will include phones with it, and we will be presented with a variety of options for how we run our phone service. Whether it is the existing phone lines can be ported directly into Time Warner's system with very little trouble. That's what I'm told. We can go to a VoIP system that we either host all the equipment, which is going to be a substantial, although not huge, investment in equipment. Or we can buy the phones and have a hosted VoIP, or we can lease both. So you'll have a variety of options. But even, so at the cheapest, at the keeping our phone lines and doing nothing, you're saving, if there are 20 lines, you're saving $5,100 a month. The costs, I think, are going to go up when you start talking about fixing our phone system, which I don't think anybody really argues is necessary. It's not necessary. I don't have those numbers for you right now, but I will. And soon. Hopefully, I'll have all of those numbers on October 13th, and you can pick from whatever plan you want.
Sound like you've done your homework, doesn't it? Erin made a motion. I'll second her motion because I think we can't go without
Not going forward.
Andrew, what to do. So,
I mean, we're immensely improved from where we were.
yeah, it's hard to believe you can come up
last
with this
week
much in 6 days. And
5.
5 days.
Not that anybody's counting,
I'm sorry,
Marvin.
Well, it's counting today the 6th
Not
day.
that anybody's counting, no.
Is today the 6th day?
I don't know.
Yeah.
5th or 6th.
But-
It was the end of the day Wednesday, so.
There you go. But I'll tell you what, you've done a whole lot. He's done a whole lot in the last 5 days. Let's say 5 days.
We worked hard, I won't lie. We worked hard, and Michael worked hard.
Absolutely.
Especially worked hard.
What they came up with certainly made my weekend, without a doubt.
Say so.
Well, and like he said, we've been asking for it for a year and a half, so
Exactly right.
it's refreshing to see it.
Let's move forward and forget about what's happened in the past. I mean, we can look back at it and learn from it, but there's not a thing we can change. So we have a motion and a second to move forward with the suggestions that you've just heard Andrew make. And I call for all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Andrew, great presentation, and it was.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
As far as the, I think it's the proposal, Andrew went over, the administration proposal to make the open IT position grade 10, is that correct? Would that include any, I guess, increase in the requirements as far as education? I mean, is there a specific computer science degree,
Yeah,
or network engineering?
Talk to Sophisticity in some help in sort of tweaking job descriptions, and yes, there are significant differences in we don't really even know what a network specialist is. It's not an industry standard term. Network engineer is. IT manager is. Systems analyst is. So we would want them to sort of tune it towards industry standards, and they have some predefined definitions. And also, while we're talking about Sophisticity, part of what we get is they will help us vet candidates. They won't do the search. They won't do the interviews, but they will go over resumes, and they will say, red flag, or this is outstanding, or this sounds made up. There's no such thing as a WYSIWYGIT degree.
That's awesome.
So, again, I'm telling you folks, I wish we'd have known all this stuff before, but we didn't, and we do now, and I feel great about it. I
like Christmas getting
feel
you
great.
game going again, ain't it?
Yes, I'm going to get my Nintendo back out, and I'm going to get to Bowser again.
Mark, you satisfied?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you, thank you. Michael, thank you for all you've done for us, too, bud. Okay.
Let me stick it right into it. Back into my city attorney role.
There you go. Okay, second reading of an ordinance amending Code of Appeals Board, sponsored by Ms. Tack. You're going to table that one until you get back with the answers from Ms. Marlene that she had for us. Second reading of 2014 property tax rate and 2015 motor vehicle rate, sponsored by Ms. Tingle-Sames. And then we'll have one after that, same thing, sponsored by Mr. Lusby, and you can make your decision.
An ordinance providing for and making the real property, personal property, motor vehicle, and watercraft tax levy for city purposes for 2014. Sponsor Karen Tingle-Sames. Whereas the City Council for the City of Georgetown, Kentucky is required by KRS 92.280 to enact by ordinance each year a tax levy on all real property, personal property, motor vehicles, and watercraft. Now therefore be it ordained by the City of Georgetown, Kentucky as follows. Section 1. That the following tax levy is hereby made for city purposes for the City of Georgetown, Kentucky, to wit: 2014 City of Georgetown tax rate on real property shall be 6.7 cents on each $100 of assessed real property, which tax proceeds shall be designated to the general fund for the general operation of city government. The 2014 City of Georgetown tax rate on personal property shall be 16.3 cents on each $100 of assessed personal property, which tax proceeds shall be designated to the general fund for the general operation of city government. And the 2015 City of Georgetown tax rate on motor vehicles and watercraft shall be 16.8 cents on each $100 of assessed motor vehicles and watercraft, which tax proceeds shall be designated to the general fund for the general operation of city government. That all city ad valorem taxes levied herein, except those on motor vehicles and watercraft, are due and payable on or before December 31st, 2014. Section 2. All matters relating to the payment of taxes imposed on motor vehicles and watercraft hereunder shall be in accordance with KRS Chapter 134.800 et seq. Section 3. That upon all taxes for real property and personal property levied herewith, if they are unpaid on January 1, 2015, there shall be again to accrue, attach, and be added from said date a flat penalty of 15% onto the total amount of said taxes then due and payable through January 31st, 2015, after which the flat penalty shall be 20%. Additionally, tax bills not paid before January 1, 2015 shall have added to them at an interest rate of 1% per month or fraction of a month until said taxes are paid. The penalty and interest as provided herein shall be added to said unpaid taxes and collected by the city finance director and or the city clerk. Should the real or personal property tax herein become delinquent, city financial officer, the city clerk, and or the city attorney are authorized to file suit to collect all delinquent taxes plus court costs and expenses, including a reasonable attorney fee incurred by the reason of the delinquency. Section 4. If any section, subsection, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is held unconstitutional or otherwise invalid, such infirmity shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Section 5. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance are hereby repealed. Section 6. This ordinance shall take effect after its passage and publication according to law, publicly introduced and read first time September 8th, 2014.
I have a question. Is this Karen's? You were reading
Yes.
Karen's? On the way I read on my in my packet is Section 1, 2014 City of Georgetown tax rate on real property shall be 6.7 cents, and then in parentheses written out in the numerals it's 0.065.
Right.
And then on the next part, on the personal property, or what's commonly called the inventory tax, you've got the 2014 City of Georgetown tax rate on personal property shall be 16.3 cents. Of course, we wanted to bring that down to the
Forgot to
0.065.
update the worded version. I don't know. It doesn't sound right because I specifically did that. But hey, given my yeah.
Yeah, it's on my copy that way too.
Is it on your copy that way too?
Yeah.
All right, folks, I apologize for that. Thank you for catching that. So let's read. That shall be amended to the record that is 6.5 cents on each $100 of assessed real property, 6.5 cents on each $100 of assessed personal property in paragraphs 2 and 3 of section 1. Thank you for catching that.
Now, of course, our copies that we received in the packet, I guess, are incorrect in terms of typos. I mean, what the spirit of this, the spirit of what you proposed, Karen, and what I seconded, I mean, is preserved with what he just said. Okay, so I guess the point I'm going to ask is, what's the official copy? Do we need to make a material change to rule this as a material change, or?
Yeah, well, it's not a material change because we're reading it correctly. We read it correctly at the last one, and we're reading it correctly now. We printed it incorrectly.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
But we are correcting the record to reflect that should have been read as 6.5 and 6.5.
Okay, so that's fine in your opinion. Okay.
And I'll make a motion for, as it was corrected and read.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Mayor, I'll make a quick comment.
Go ahead.
As you know, at the last meeting, I think I gave an example when the water company came to us, and it's been quite a few years back. They proposed a rate reduction. I think it was 5%, if I'm not mistaken. Bob's nodding his head. That was the case, and we were all delighted. It passed and was approved, and it got lost somewhere in the middle of the newspaper. And there was nobody there to cheer us when we came walking out of City Hall. A few years later, I guess they proposed that we do I think it was a 1.8% increase in the water rates, if I'm not mistaken. And it was pretty tumultuous. It was a very publicized event, and we caught a lot of flack over that. I mean, 1.8, is in the 2% range. It was pretty small. And I'm kind of seeing some parallels to what we did then and what we're doing now. I'm for efficiencies, and I'm for lower taxes. I support that concept. And if that's what passes tonight, I'm fine with that. I'm good with that. But to me, that's I feel like that we're changing. I don't want to say we're changing. It's a philosophical change necessarily. I mean, some of us have our own philosophy on how we think things need to operate. But to me, we're giving up the $700,000 in 5 years. If we left it just the way that it is, it's $700,000 in 5 years. We did the math at the last meeting. 1.4 million in 10 years. Now, it's probably more than that because values are going to continue to go up each year over those next. So I gave those estimates just based on a locked-in value. Okay, so. But if that's the direction we want to go, then I think we have to take a conservative approach on our expenses as well. If we're going to reduce our revenue without really any pressure from the public, I mean, the tangible tax is not something that we've heard much complaint about, if any at all. So in my mind, if we do that, then we have to look at every, when things come to us as they relate to additional expenses, and it could be a change in the grade of an employee, it could be an additional employee, it could be equipment, it could be whatever the case may be. I think, in my mind, I have to take a conservative approach if this is the direction that we want to go. And I respect this, if that's what we want to do. If it, I respect Karen for her proposal. And it'll be beneficial. It'll be helpful to businesses, and I know that was mentioned, and I know that money does cycle back through the community, and in my mind, I can support this, and I'll probably vote for it. But I want everybody to think about what we're giving up. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Because I've been there, and I'm just sharing it with you. Tracy sent out some information. I think Mr. Penn requested it this past week, some financial information.
What was it, 5 years, a little over 400,000?
Well,
Is that what it was?
That was on the last 5 years.
yeah, that was on the last 5 years. But
I think that, to kind of piggyback on what David's talking about, I looked at it to figure out how we could recoup that loss. And I don't think there's anybody in here that's willing to raise taxes this year by any form. So I looked at the difference between David's proposal and Karen's proposal. And in revenue, there's $132,189 difference in our projected revenue. So we talk about boosting business and recruiting people to move into town. So I kind of worked those numbers backwards. And there's a couple of ways that we can recoup that $132,000. And it's a bit staggering. So I had Tracy confirm these numbers. To create that much revenue in occupational taxes, we would need 423 $15 an hour jobs. We would need 318 $20 an hour jobs, or 635 $10 an hour jobs. If we wanted to break even in the property taxes, the real property taxes, we would have to build 1,395 houses at our median house value of $146,950. It's 1,395 houses. Or we would have to build 683 $300,000 houses. If you look at inventory tax and merchant tax, we would need to find some business that would hold $205 million worth of inventory just to break even. For reference on that, Walmart was assessed last year in merchant taxes and inventory taxes at $7.8 million. So you're looking at needing 26 more Walmarts if you look at just straight inventory and merchant taxes. Kroger was assessed at $6.8 million. We'd need 30 times that. Toyota, that's the one that we always kind of judge by. With all their vehicles, they carry $2.3 million in this tax. So I worked it out into a standard business that's carrying inventory. If a standard business carries $250,000 in inventory, it would be a break of $4.50 a week. So I think, when we talk about spurring business and spurring growth, we have to be real with those numbers. And I'm not sure that $4.50 a week is going to hire a lot of people. So I will support David's tonight. I can't support drop, and I understand that we're looking at equalizing to keep from using the substitution rate, and I could see that. I guess I could see that if our property taxes were out of whack. But when you consider that our real property tax, we could triple it and still be in the lowest 5 in the state, and that's not a bad thing. But I just hesitate to make a move like this because this won't be easy to come back from a revenue standpoint. It's not going to be easy at all.
Other comments?
I would love to hear from somebody else, Mayor. Maybe even you.
Well, once we give it up, I don't see it coming back.
No.
And yours is to keep the same numbers we had last year.
I was proposing to keep it the same, no change.
The same,
Yeah.
which is,
Yeah.
it would not be a high. Maintaining.
Right.
Both?
both proposals seem to make sense, and we can each, as individual council members, I think, justify in either direction, stabilizing it or making it equal. But in looking at the numbers as well, it seems difficult to justify that little difference in trying to weigh which, for lack of a better term, proposal is better.
House Bill 44, when it was passed in '79, and I'm sensitive to the issue of real estate property taxes because my family farms, and we've always had to pay a pretty good tax bill every year. Outside the city limits, by the way, and out in the county, so this doesn't affect us. I'm not going to have to recuse myself.
You don't live in the city?
And, well, I live in the city, but the house is a lot cheaper than a farm that borders the Toyota factory. But anyway, House Bill 44, when it was passed in '79, it's probably a revolutionary bill in the state because, in essence, it nationwide, because in essence it tells cities, counties, special districts throughout the Commonwealth that you can't raise the tax or set your assessments or raise the tax rates themselves to get more than 4% than you did the year previous. And what that does is it tells property owners, it tells businesses that you can bet on you're going to know what you're going to be paying in property tax from year to year to year. That sort of stability and predictability allows people to buy houses and to be able to know that they're going to be able to afford them and raise their children in them for the next few decades. And it allows businesses to know that they're always that they can grow slowly and fruitfully without being slammed with a huge property tax bill because the local county government or municipality wants to go build a big public works project that they don't necessarily approve of, but they'll get slammed with it. In other states, this happens. There's messing around with property tax rolls up north, in Michigan especially, throughout the South and out west, in terms of raising assessments to artificially raise assessments to get more property tax revenue in, or just raising the rates willy-nilly. Here in the state, House Bill 44 protects us from that. And I think what I like about Karen's proposal is by dropping that tangible property rate in the same line as a real property rate, it takes away the possibility that future councils will have of using that secondary calculation that allows you to raise, in essence, the property tax rate by more than 4%, which is the spirit of House Bill 44. And I think that predictability, part of the reason that we have been so successful in attracting business, and let's face it, I think that's really the trademark of this city, is property taxes, how low they are, and the fact that they can predict and go forward and know that the property tax rates are always going to be very low. So I think down the road we talk about Tracy's calculations and giving up $400,000. We don't know right now what we're going to gain from making this move, because it might spur. I mean, yeah, $450 a week might be small or a drop in the bucket to a $250,000 business, but with a $250,000 inventory business, but that $450 might go to something that'll really spur economic growth. And the one thing I can tell you is I don't know what that means down the road, but I do know it means progress for the city. So it's the reason I'm voting for this ordinance.
Andrew, can I ask you a quick question? The tangible tax will be the same as the property tax, right?
Correct.
Okay. So if you have a $100,000 home, you're paying $65 a year, right?
I believe that's correct.
I mean, so if you have $100,000 worth of equipment, wouldn't it be $65 a year as well?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Okay. If we kept it the same, it's essentially twice that amount.
A little bit more.
A little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess what I'm getting at is, I know Brad's saying $4, but it seems to me I mean, we're cutting it in half if we're going to reduce it, or close to in half, if we reduce it. Is that right?
I think it's pretty easy to mathematically show when when it's a simple this times this,
Right.
whatever your personal property tax base is, if you're dropping it by a percentage,
Yeah.
then you're going to have that percentage loss in revenue
What's-
from that source.
What was our total? Do you know what our total tangible tax was last year? Our revenue?
I know we budget 80,000, and the way we put that in, that's a lot of the PSC property tax. That's a worksheet that Tracy did, with the estimated based on that value.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the decision's not a game changer. I mean, I know we're not talking about a huge amount, but I wanted us to look at over time, what that impact is. And quite honestly, I want to go with Karen's proposal, but I want us to live that way. You know what I mean? When it comes to decisions that we have in the future, if we take this conservative approach, then I think we need to make decisions based on that conservative approach. And I guess
As it always should be
Well,
done that way.
I know, but our history's not quite been that way.
That is true, but I will applaud Andrew and staff for looking at savings for what we even talked about tonight. For the first time, I really see that as a positive light, that there's savings there. So I think it can be done, and it has been done. And so, yes, and it should be done because you're using taxpayers' money.
Yeah, we all applaud. That was excellent. But we also know that there's going to be some capital needs, though, right, Andrew? There's no doubt that if we start replacing phone systems and
You heard the age
cameras
of
and
a lot of
yeah,
our
I mean,
equipment.
that's just the reality. So, anyway, I'd still like to hear from anyone else that wants to share their thoughts.
We don't need to read.
That's council's prerogative. If you all want to vote now, you vote now. If you want to read it, I kind of think I'd be selfish, and I don't want to read it. If you are just going to vote.
Well, I think you got a motion on the table in a second. You have to vote on the one you've got on the table.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a motion yet?
Yes.
All right.
And a
I didn't hear
second.
the motion. I'm sorry.
Roll call vote,
Was there a
please.
motion?
Karen.
Yeah, Karen and myself.
Okay, yeah. Mr. Lesby?
I'll vote yes.
Mr. McEwen?
No.
Mr. Penn?
No.
Ms. Tingle Sands?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Showalter?
Yes.
Ms. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Okay, Karen's motion is passed. Okay. All right.
Did the last meeting's, Mayor, can I ask a question?
sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry I missed the last meeting, but did the last, the appropriation for the truck, did that come out of the sanitation's budget? Don't we have two new trucks approved to purchase? Are they both coming out of sanitation?
That was for your salt truck, wasn't it? Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, city engineer, municipal order to line and stripe Jackson Street. This came out of traffic committee.
Yeah, this is a product of traffic committee. We met this past Monday with members of Scott County Schools, Georgetown PD, Scott County Board of Education, Public Works, and Scott County Middle School. I'm sure most of you understand the issue we have over on East Jackson Street, adjacent to Gard. Essentially, the street is 44 feet wide. There's parking on both sides, and then when parents come to pick up their students between 1 and 3 o'clock, they double park outside of the parking lane, leaving one travel lane for two-way traffic. After quite a bit of discussion, a very productive meeting, Traffic Committee is recommending changing that parking area on Jackson to be a no parking between 1 and 3, a loading and unloading zone only, which means you stay in your car. This lane will be 2 lanes wide, but since there's no parking, you don't have triple cars stacked there. This will allow for two-way traffic, 20-foot travel lane. I'm still working out the details on the exact striping and the exact signage, but that is the intent.
Between Hamilton and Broadway?
Yes. Because when you get past Hamilton on East Jackson, it necks down to about 28 feet. So it's a really confusing and off-canter type intersection.
There's a problem over there during that hour, that's for sure.
Also, I'm working with the principal and Zan Rexroth from the schools. We will be providing a flyer to the parents who pick up kids, and so they'll have plenty of warning before we roll this out.
Which is due, we're going to try to make it happen during fall break.
We were going to try to. It's just between coming up with the layout, getting quotes to do the work, and having the flyers prepared, it may take a little bit longer.
Any questions of Collins this time?
So just
I'll
a
make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Tackett.
second.
Second by Mr. Penn.
So just to make it clear, you're going to have unloading and unloading signs. Okay. And we're going to try to get it to where we're going to get double stacking. Are we going to have parking also on South Hamilton? Or a loading and unloading zone, and it'll wrap around better?
No. South Hamilton will be parking.
Parking.
And the schools are considering tagging that for employees only.
Okay.
So they'll have special tags.
On that right side of the street?
Yes.
On the Broadway side?
The west side of South Hamilton.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The east side will remain open for anybody. And I was out there today, there was plenty of parking available.
Any other comments?
Parking will start all the way on Hamilton, all the way back to East Jackson?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Finance, municipal order approving the purchase of a truck for our cemetery.
Yes, filling in tonight on behalf of Mr. Cook. So you had a memo in your packet about this, but we had money, $40,000, I think, budgeted for a dump truck. But after his discussions with our new Public Works Director, Linda Wise, determined that really Public Works could handle the periodic hauling away of dirt from the cemetery. However, his current vehicle, the Ford, the truck that he uses, is in dire need of replacement. And so he has requested to have that replaced with a Ford Explorer that would allow him to lead funerals without breaking down, and also allow him to transport families as they come to look for plots to buy, as well as visiting plots or graves that may be hard to find now, or that they cannot locate on their own. So, in addition to that, the utility vehicle that we budgeted $14,000 for, he only spent $5,300. So he has really generated some savings. Grand total savings of $21,480. Half of that will come back to the general fund because, as you know, the general fund and the county split the difference between whatever the cemetery doesn't make in its own revenue. So out of $21,000 savings, we'll see $10,000 back.
This is a budgeted item.
Yes, so we do have a budgeted vehicle.
Motion there.
Motion. Second?
Second.
Got that. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Bob? There's two items he needs to present to you tonight.
Evening. First is approval of purchase order to Lane Inc. for the low bid in the amount of $45,824 to replace the filter backwash pump at the water treatment plant. Our current pump has been in operation since 1956, and repair parts are no longer available. This is a capital project line item in our fiscal year 2015 budget, and our board approved this item on September 16th.
Motion, Mayor.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Go to your next item, Bob.
Approve a purchase order to Bell Engineering for the low bid in the amount of $27,170 for engineering, design, bidding, and construction administration for 2 sewer line projects. This is a capital project line item in our fiscal year 2015 budget, and our board also approved this item on September 16th.
Motion for approval?
I'll make a motion, yes.
Okay. Second. Any discussion?
Yeah, Bob, could you kind of let us know where those lines are going to be, or
We're
you're not
looking-
out right now?
We're looking at a line on Water Street and a line on Harmon Court. And, you know, depending on how it's designed and what the engineer's estimate comes back as, then we'll determine if we can do both, or we just have to do one this year and one next year.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
All
Thank you,
right.
Bob.
Thank you.
Human Resources, first reading of amendment to the personnel ordinance. This is sponsored by Ms. Tackett.
As you all know, in June 2014, Linda Wise was appointed to Interim Director of Public Works, which she has now been appointed to permanently. When that change took place, we had to make some adjustment of duties in City Hall, and we are just hoping to make those duties known to you and permanent at this point. As soon as Linda was assigned to Public Works, we started training Erica Green, who is the HR and legal assistant, to do the payroll function. She has been training with Linda on that ever since June. Linda has graciously worked full-time at Public Works and then lent her experience in payroll to training Erica as well. Linda's function when she was in her prior role was to handle payroll for the city and to also do grant administration. So those are 2 duties that we lost with Linda. Erica's duties were to cover as my assistant and as Andrew's assistant, so she was covering both of us. All those duties we're hoping to rearrange in this way. Erica Green, who has been working in HR since she first came and also assisting legal, can pick up the payroll portion of what Linda used to do. So she would become a human resources specialist whose job description changes by taking out any legal assistance and adding in the entire payroll function. We proposed changing that to a grade 8 because payroll administration has always fallen in a grade 8 job. That requires much more responsibility. The payroll administrator obviously has access to Social Security numbers, wage garnishments, tax levies, and is held to a 99% accuracy rate in processing payroll for our employees. So that's why we propose moving it to a grade 8 as we do this. In what Stacy's losing by losing Linda in the grant administration, we hope to pick up by hiring a new employee to replace that, and that person would also pick up purchasing. So we kill multiple birds with one stone in this rearrangement, and in the calculations that we have added up, we can save $14,730 by adjusting these salaries according to the duties we're giving them. I hope that all made sense. If it didn't, just let me know.
That last part was the best part.
Okay, yeah, the last part's always the best
I want
part.
to point out that there's a little mistake in the ordinance. It should have read on the finance legal specialist a drop from 8 to 7, correct?
Correct.
And I don't know why we made that note in the summary and in the ordinance.
So the one, we're maintaining an 8, simply moving someone up, and then we're going to hire someone at a grade down.
Yeah, we're basically keeping one grade 8 position and one grade 7 position.
Right.
No change in the total number of employees, just a change in who's doing what and how much we pay those people to do
Right.
that.
And it totals out to be a $14,000 savings.
We've been waiting to do the hire to see obviously what happens with Linda, whether that would become a permanent position. We're in dire need in the grants, and the purchasing would be assisting my department. There's a lot that goes on with purchasing and implementing our purchasing policy, and to make sure we're doing it 100%. I think our departments could use a little assistance and getting quotes and helping write the RFPs, and I do the best I can to help them, but it would help to have someone who could also help with that. And again, this being a vacant position, currently we do not have a job description that fits what we needed to do. So We can't hire until we get a job description in place.
Forget about Linda's changes too.
I'm sorry?
Linda's changes.
Linda's changes are in this ordinance too, so once we get through this portion of it, then I'll let Linda explain what she's hoping to do with her changes. So do you have any questions for me or Andrew?
This is first reading. Yes.
What's the $14,000 savings based on? Is that based on what's in the budget, or is that based on what's currently in the budget?
Yes,
Okay.
it is. It considered all of our percentage-based benefits.
Retirement, Social Security, everything that goes along with the salary.
How much do you plan on paying for each of these employees?
The payroll administrator, HR assistant would go to $40,000, and the new employee that would handle finance and legal would be paid $35,000 annually.
And the current legal HR assistant currently is what?
$34,268.
34. Okay,
And the ex-payroll position was at $52,402.
so the savings is because you're paying them less than what Linda had grown to.
Right. Linda had, 16 years experience? 17 years.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll have second reading next time, and
Okay.
Linda, she's
Well,
going to explain hers.
She is going to explain hers, and I will bring the job descriptions with municipal orders attached to them to the next meeting for your approval of the job description if you don't have any changes you want to make at this point. Okay?
thank you, ma'am.
Lady, I'll let you explain.
Both of you.
Next.
Where to start? Okay, what I want to do is revert the sanitation department back to the structure that existed before, where we had sanitation workers and sanitation drivers. We have had a bad time over the last several years hiring the driver/worker position. To be able to hire those people, they have to have the CDLs. And the job positions were changed that all of the people that were hired in sanitation department had to have a CDL. We gave them X amount of time to hire in, to take the test, and then to get certified. Well, guess who gets to train all those people how to drive? And who's doing it? It's the city and the city vehicles. It is a slow process for some of the people. That's a big truck and tight quarters, lots of weight, lots of responsibility. It's been difficult to hire people for our starting salary to do that kind of job. Because if you have a CDL license, you can go out in the public sector and get a job making a lot more money than what we can offer. As a result, then, we're missing out a whole labor pool of people who can do manual labor for us, and you'd be pickup riders on the back of the truck, perform other duties during the wintertime, snow removal, ice, things like that, and a lot of other jobs. So what I want to do is re-tier the department back to the grade 4 that will be the maintenance worker. That should be, so the guys keep telling me, man, we're missing out on some really good guys, but they just can't get or don't want to get their CDL for some reason. So we will then be able to access that pool of employees. We have 7 or 8 drivers currently in the sanitation department, and we have another 5 in public works that we can call on if we need, who have their CDL license, because we have 4 equipment operators over there, plus some other people who've been hired in who have their CDLs and are trained drivers. It will give us more availability to utilize our workforce. It'll make a differentiation in the drivers and the pickup people, which the pickup people, they're like a crew that's out working, but it has no head because they're all equal. Everybody's equal and nobody's in charge, and there are difficulties with that out in the field. At the same time that I'm doing that, we had in 12, was it in 12 when we had lost the position? Yeah, in 2012 in the budget year, any positions that weren't filled were abolished. At that time, there was a crew leader position for sanitation. that had been interviewed for but hadn't been filled, and we lost that position. I would love to have that crew leader position back. It would eliminate a lot of overtime in my higher place staff, because I need somebody who can stay to make sure the last truck gets in and lock the gate. Sometimes it's an hour after everybody else is off shift, sometimes it's 45 minutes, sometimes it's longer. But to handle some of those crew leader duties and positions. So that's what I want to do. It's basically restructure the department back to what it used to
I
be.
have a question for you and the mayor. Are you planning on trying to get two men to a truck ever?
You mean like one pickup person and one driver? I have a truck now that has no pickup people on it.
Okay, because the truck allows you to do that.
The truck allows us to do that, and that would be where I would probably be going for the next truck. We're restricted where we can use those trucks.
So if you don't have a CDL driver, you still run into problems. So
Well-
are you the older trucks that you still have that take more than one person, are you planning on trying to get that to 2 men on a truck?
I've done it with one truck already. The business route on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday does one driver, one pickup person.
And so they both have, one's just a sanitation without a CDL, and the other one has a CDL?
The position I'm in right now, I only have three. I have 3 people who are grandfathered in who don't have CDLs. I have 2 open positions. One of those open positions I want to be a 4. I have 2 employees that we hired to be CDL drivers who have not completed their coursework or passed their test yet. I'm unsure if they want to be want to be drivers, or whether they would be just as happy to be reverted back to being just the grade 4 level jobs.
Well, the truck that you've got 2 men on, are they both CDL, or is one CDL and one's not?
Yes.
Yes,
And no, yes and no. It depends on what day. Some days it is someone who is and someone who isn't.
So
But
you
most
could-
days a lot of days I have to put they'll have 2 pickup people that are CDL drivers and the driver.
So
on the truck.
you would send a truck out that you'd have one man that could drive and make the other man stay on the back of the truck all day?
Yeah.
Well, I think that originally this was set up so you eventually could get to that 2 men on a truck. You'd have a driver, you'd have 2 people on a truck that was CDL, and you'd have a driver in the front, a guy on the back, and then they could rotate off and let the guy on the back drive and let the guy in the front go to the back, was the original intent of this. So if you do what you're asking to do, then you'll never get to that point. So, but if that's
Yeah.
not your mission if that's not the administration's mission to get to that point, then okay, but that's what
Even with the licensed drivers, it is an infrequent occasion that they go out with the 2 drivers on the back and the 1 driver driving, and that they switch in the route. They don't usually switch in the route.
Because you've got 2 drivers,
I-
2 in the back and 1 in the front.
Yeah, I've got 3 drivers.
So you've not really got 2 men on a truck.
No, we have 2 trucks that have 3 men, 1 truck that runs 2 Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then 3 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Because if we're doing residential routes, we just about have to have the 2 men on the truck to get the volume of houses that we have. We're picking up, my lowest route is probably 525 houses. That's my lowest route in a week, is that right now.
So, just to go over the trucks, you got 1 truck that's just a driver and no pickup men, right?
Right.
And then you've got, how many trucks do you have with just 1 driver and 1 pickup man?
1 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
1 driver, 1 pickup man.
Is that the new truck?
That's the newest truck, and it's the truck running the business route.
Yeah.
But then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they also do residential. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, when they're doing the residential, we can't get all the school dumpsters and all of that without the second pickup person.
And then,
You just said, I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. And how many with 1 driver and 2 pickup men trucks do we have?
2.
I mean, as far as crews, 2 crews?
Two
Okay.
crews.
All right. Okay, go ahead, Dave.
So we have 4 trucks going out every day right now.
Did you say 525 For one truck per week?
Per day.
Per day.
Okay, I thought you said per week.
No, per day. That's in the lowest in a week.
Okay,
is
I
have.
got you. That's
Yeah, because I have quite a few that are more than that. We have some 625 routes. We've got a 675 house route. And then the automated truck generally runs in the close 700, 725, 750.
So with what's being proposed, what's the net difference in payroll? That's a good number to know.
There's a $3,000 difference between grade 4s and grade 5s. Now, that we've got our existing personnel, so this would only apply to the incoming personnel if we made this change. We have the 2 vacancies. If one went up to a grade 6, then it would be $3,000 more than the grade 5. And then if we leave the one at a 4, then it would be $3,000 less. But I really want to utilize that grade 6 person to lower overtime for a couple of the...
That's the crew leader?
Yeah, as the crew leader. I can stagger shifts with the crew leader. I can have early start times and then a later finish time so that there's a lot less overtime.
So how's this reflect on the budget? Is it a total of 8 new people is what you're asking for?
No, I'm asking for the 2 vacancies that I have filled. I want to change the existing ones to, we only have 2 right now. Okay. So one would be a grade 4 and one would be a grade 6, which would be a net of 0 off of the budgeted 5s.
And so you're asking for a total of how many people, would you say again, over what you currently have?
None.
Okay.
None.
And you've
No
got
new
2
people.
empty spots.
Those are the 2 empty spots.
And it changes the budget how much?
Well, if we take the 2 empty positions and make one that's budgeted at a grade 5, a grade 4, that's $3,000 less. Okay. We make the other one a grade 6, which is 1 grade higher, which is $3,000. It would be the same.
Wash.
It would be the same.
Are we requiring them to get CDLs in a certain period of time?
Yes, they're supposed to get their, it's the test before they even hire. A permit before they hire, and then I think they have a year to get it. But some of them really want the job, and they come in there, and then I think it kind of frightens them, the driving the truck. And some of the places, if you ever want to see a real treat, go in here and watch this garbage truck back into Galvin's every day over there. I mean, he's got like a coat of paint on each side is all of the wiggle room he's got. And it's, I think some of them then don't like it, don't want to go ahead and do it, feel pressured to do it. Some of them go ahead, and I've got one that was very backwards at first and has turned into a good driver now. I've got another one that's been driving and driving and driving and driving and driving, and there's not much change. So
I just worry if it's going to put us in a shortage of drivers at some point.
Well, we can always hire drivers, and right now we would have these 7 or 8 that we already have, plus our 4 equipment operators who have to have CDL license that are in Public Works that we can draw from. And then we have 4 positions that are Public Works / sanitation drivers that have their CDL license. So right now we have sort of an abundance of CDL license right now with 4 trucks running. We do run 5 or 6 on the holidays, but we have plenty to pull that up right now.
Linda, do you know when we decided to do that? I remember when we talked, when we did that, we made the change and we wanted everybody, it wasn't really us wanting it. I think it was obviously proposed to us that, and it was kind of like cross-training, if I'm not mistaken, the terminology that
It
was
was
used.
trying to get, because that happened with my administration, it was trying to get us prepared to get to 2 men on a truck is what it was. The whole idea to have their CDLs was so that because you can't put 1 man on the back of the truck lifting the garbage all day with the other one driving. That's not fair to the guy on the back of the truck, so that they both had CDLs so they could shift off every 2 hours to rest the one that was on the back to go to the front and vice versa. The whole concept was to get to 2 men on a truck, and in one of the winters we didn't have We couldn't get in all the CDL drivers to get out and get the snow removal done. But because the guys that lived the closest were the ones that didn't have their CDLs. So that made a problem of getting them even in here to do that. So it was efficiency and, yes, cross-training with the jobs, but taking the vision to go to 2 men on a truck, which during the administration I had, it's just started, so we didn't get enough people to go to 2 men on a truck. But in the last 4 years, we still haven't gotten 2 men to the truck, and it should have had enough time now to work that out. So that's why I asked, is that the vision to go to 2 men on a truck? But if that's not the vision, well, okay. But if that's still the vision.
One of the things that's happened, I think, with that, and I've watched Public Works all over the years, even though I was in payroll, they've gone with the trucks with the tippers now. And that makes that truck so much more efficient to have the two. Because, and if you'll notice, our workers' comp rates have dropped dramatically over the years because now they just grab that truck, pull it over, hook it on there, hit the lever, it dumps automatically. And it's it's almost like the really good teams are like dancing. You know, they go down the street and they're walking. And we had one street that I tested the other day out in Bradford Place. Like, how long does it take to get this street? It's a street with 5 courts off of it. And there were 84 houses, and it took 30 minutes with the 2 men on the truck.
Which if you're in the private industry, they do it with 1 man on
Or
the
none.
truck.
Yeah, or none.
And so they can go bam, bam, in the 525 houses that you're talking about, in no time. They can knock that out. So that was why we were trying to be half as efficient as the private sector is with what we were doing. And so we've just never achieved it as of yet.
Some of our problem too is our city, the older parts of our city and the streets and the houses and how close they are and how difficult it is to get the trucks through the trees, the curbs, the all of that. But yeah, the only way I think to go in the future is the 1 man. Is to go with the 1 man truck.
Linda, how many total drivers or how many total employees do you have that have their CDL license again? I apologize if I missed it
15,
earlier.
I think.
Yeah.
I think when she read them off, they were 15, 7, 4, and 4.
4, I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's right now. And I would not be really wanting to go under what, if the 2 people that I have right now that don't have their CDLs want to come back and come into being just the sanitation worker driver, that would be just about where we would want to be because, you know, as Karen's saying, in 2 years or whenever we get another automated truck, we're going to go with less pickup people. And we have some that are grandfathered in. We have 3 or 4 that have been grandfathered in as 4s, and they're, as long as they stay here, they're going to be pickup people. One of them has some medical limitations and can't do the stuff on the back of the truck, and so he has to do other things.
You know, one of the challenges that we face in my business, in my industry I work in, is there's a national shortage of CDL drivers all over this country. And I guess the next question I would have is a follow-up to the 15 drivers that you, or 15 employees that have their CDL license. What's the average age of those employees, just out of curiosity? I mean, are there any of them that are getting close to retirement or?
There may be one in Public Works that may be getting close to his 25 years, but I think he's too young to fully retire. You know, you have to be the 27 to get the full retirement. And my oldest sanitation driver he's probably still 15 years away from, and he's a relatively new city employee also. Any other questions?
So the goal your long-term goal is to try to get to the 1-man automated truck, just the driver operating the arm. Is that right?
Right now, we're using the 1-arm truck in the newer subdivisions. We send a truck out in front of him in the morning who picks up a load of cardboard boxes that are set outside into the back of the truck, and any problems he can avert. If there's a can that a car is setting by, he'll move the can over a little bit. It takes him about, I'd say, an hour and a half in advance in the morning to do that run through of the route. He does that, comes back, and then the 1-arm truck goes all the way through and does the rest of it by himself.
Okay.
It kills us when that truck is down because that's a lot of houses to make up with the a rear loader.
So we're sending a truck out ahead?
A pickup truck out ahead that picks up the cardboard. The automated truck does not handle cardboard very well at all, as far as the compaction and everything. It's an issue for the truck. So this is the cardboard goes to recycling, and then the truck is ready to, go straight on through.
Now, what if the cardboard's inside the Kirby?
Then it goes.
Corrugate
It just
is-
goes
is
on.
fine, but
Yeah,
their
we don't
compaction's
open-
okay?
We don't
No.
open those.
No.
I mean.
I guess my main question is, is the overall goal going forward, we're not just talking about equalization of the budget here, but we're talking about trying to keep garbage rates at that $15 level for residences. And what is it, $22 for businesses or $22.50?
Well, they're one of the levels of businesses. They're
22.
$22.50. Yeah, it goes up from
Yeah.
there.
I think that's the main question I have. The decision I think we make on this ordinance, it's not going to set us on some sort of path where we're still 10 years down the road have majority of the trucks with two pickers on the back end. Because I don't know if that's a sustainable model going forward as far as any sort of efficiency.
That's not my goal, but unless we remodel some of Georgetown, we're always going to have.
No, I agree with that, yeah.
But you all probably already know, but we had, 60 housing starts or something last month through building inspection. I don't know how many we've had so far this year, but, if we're going to end up with a couple hundred more houses at the end of the year, we're going to have to start looking at another truck, and I would definitely want another one-arm truck.
Can you get the one-arm truck down through I think the narrowest new subdivision I can think of is Elkhorn Green. Can it get through those narrow streets up in Elkhorn Green?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can get there. The only place that I've had to pull it out of so far, and he was getting through there, but it was taking him a while, was Parkside, which is not really that new of a subdivision.
No.
And it was the street parking. There's only one spot, most of those driveways, so there was lots of street parking. And the houses are really close together, so they're.
We have what, you told me today, 88 stops out there?
I think there's 87 stops at
87?
up there. And I just switched it to another route. But we have enough new development. We have some other subdivisions that are being picked up by a rear loader now that I feel confident that probably before we can get another truck, we're going to need another truck to run the sidearm to run the route.
Okay, we need to read the ordinance. Is that what you said?
Any more questions?
Mayor, can I ask a quick question to Megan? Is it possible sorry.
Go ahead, no problem.
Is it possible that you either know offhand or you can get the information to us by our next council meeting, how many vacancies there are right now throughout all the city departments?
Yeah, let's see.
I know we've heard several here tonight, but
I probably should be scared to do this offhand. I think at this point we have 4 in dispatch. The police department is full. We have 2 openings in fire, 2 openings in public works or sanitation, whatever you want to call that.
2 at City Hall.
Yeah, 2 at City Hall.
have we started the hiring process or for any of those positions that have been mentioned?
Yes. Dispatch, they've interviewed everyone that they're interested in, and there should be job offers coming there shortly. They're trying to do an internal promotion to shift supervisor, and then they'll go ahead and try and fill those others with new employees. The fire department has a very long and drawn-out recruitment process, so they have been through their initial testing, and what will come next for them is their interviews. But I don't think they're looking to have those filled before January. The 2 in Public Works and Sanitation, Linda mentioned those tonight to you and what she wants to do with that. As far as City Hall, the engineering tech position, we'll probably be extending a job offer tomorrow to a candidate for that. And then obviously we'll be hiring for the legal finance position, if
And
approved.
Jen's replacement.
Jen's replacement.
Did you say that you'd be offering You'd be offering.
The engineering tech position for Kyle. We have finally finished interviewing for that and found someone that he's happy with.
But every one of these positions are a budgeted position.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
So
we
just-
only
I think
fill
that's
budgeted
what Mark
positions.
Is there 3 in City Hall or just 2?
As of today, it's 3. As of
Yeah.
tomorrow, it's
Correct.
2.
Yeah, tomorrow will be 2.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else before we read?
Okay, now read.
All right. An ordinance amending Section 2-111C of the Code of Ordinances to establish and remove certain positions. Summary. 1. Amend Section 2-111C of the Code of Ordinances, which sets forth classifications, associated pay grades, and authorized positions for each department. 2. 1. Abolish the position of legal/HR assistant, grade 7, to establish the position of human resources specialist, grade 8. To abolish the position of payroll administrator, grade 8. To establish the position of finance/legal specialist, grade 7, all within the general government department. And 2. To create the position of crew leader, grade 6. To abolish the 10 positions of sanitation worker/driver, grade 5. To abolish the position of maintenance worker, grade 4. To increase the number of sanitation workers, grade 4 positions from 3 to 6. And to increase the number of sanitation driver grade positions from 1 to 8, all within the sanitation department. 2. Provides for repeal of inconsistent ordinances, severability of provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication. The full text of this ordinance is available for examination in the city clerk's office, 100 North Court Street, Georgetown, Kentucky, 40324, or at www.georgetownky.gov. Introduced and publicly read first time, September 22nd, 2014.
You made the correction there, grade 7.
Yes.
All right, there was grade 8 here.
Yeah, we corrected it.
Okay. Okay, first reading. B&Z, Joe?
Folks, I want to apologize up front. It was crazy, as you know, since Wednesday, so I actually forgot to bring you a resolution. But I think what Joe is asking for is relatively simple and easy, so I'm hoping we can just send for the motion.
I brought a board. Let me go ahead and grab it. I'm here today to give you an update on the Legacy Trail Extension project, kind of where we are with that project, and to request that the city be an applicant on a grant, a TAP grant, which is a Transportation Alternatives Grant. It's through the Federal Highway Administration. And as you know, you've partially funded the feasibility study that was completed earlier this summer. So now we're moving forward into the implementation stage. And the planning office is working with the Legacy Trail Extension Committee, Steering Committee, to help try and find funds to implement at least portions of this project. Initially, we think because it's such an ambitious project, and it's I think you saw the price tag on it, it's pretty high. I think the majority of funding for this, if it's going to get implemented, is going to come in the form of grants. These transportation alternative grants can be fairly large amounts, up to $1 or $2 million is typical for these large trail projects. So we think that's going to be the main source of funding, at least initially, for this trail project. What I've given you is a kind of a summary of what the TAP grant is. It's a federal grant. It's an 80-20 match. It comes due it opens up every year in August, September period. Last year it closed in October. This year it closes September 30th. It is a reimbursable grant, so you have to pay for the project and then you're reimbursed. You can pay for it, in small increments and get reimbursed throughout the course of the project, but it is a reimbursable grant. Only government can apply, only city or county government can apply for it. So nonprofits can apply for the money. P&Z joint agencies can't apply for it. So it's got to be a city or a county applicant. That's why we're coming to the city as the applicant, because that makes the most sense. We think the majority of this this trail is going to be within the city limits of Georgetown. Over time, as we apply moving forward, I think it's more feasible to have the city as the applicant. The city can appoint a project manager. It doesn't have to be a city employee. Can appoint a P&Z employee or a Parks and Rec employee as the grant administrator. Let me talk a little bit about the proposed grant application, because I think the feasibility study defined a preferred route, and that's what I've included kind of in the handout. This shows the extension of the Legacy Trail from the Horse Park on the south up to Cardone. There is a preferred alternative, and then there's a Toyota loop, and then there's an urban loop that will connect the college to the main route, extended route of the trail. You can see it's mostly in the city of Georgetown. There's 3 properties outside city limits. One is the soccer complex, Flower Road Soccer Complex, and then there's 4 soccer complex, and then 3 beyond that, 3 properties before you get to the horse park. So that's the route. And thinking about how we could best start getting something in the ground, the Legacy Trail Extension Steering Committee discussed a lot of options. One was to just improve the sidewalks and bike lanes within the city limits on road. It wouldn't involve a lot of property acquisition. That's something that we could have done. We could have steered towards, but we had an opportunity kind of to get a long section in the ground, and if you can see it, I included in your handout, but in this blown up, it's the point from point A to point B, and that's from the Lau Road Soccer Complex to the Anderson property at this Pleasant View Drive extension. This road will eventually go all the way through to Lyle. But the benefits of looking at this section is, one, we could put in a trailhead at the soccer complex and provide bathroom facilities at that park. There's no bathroom facilities now. There's just porta potties. There was an identified need for bathroom facilities there. It would benefit a lot of users in town, inside city limits, outside city limits. A lot of citizens in Scott County use that facility. So that was in the master plan, but it hasn't been able to be implemented because of funding issues. So we could put a bathroom facilities there. We could connect the soccer complex to Harmony Ridge and to the future developing Amerson Farm property, provide connection from those neighborhoods to the park. We could also connect the school, so we could provide a safe route to school from the neighborhoods, a connection for all that developing area. If the trail gets to Pleasant View, you have the sidewalk connections from the neighborhood that can be funneled to that location. So you'll have the ability to connect all of Lemons Mill neighborhoods to the soccer complex and to the school. So you provide benefits for the school, benefits for the community, connection to the park. So we think this is a win-win situation. And then the additional factor that makes this such a good project is Dennis Anderson, who's developing the Emerson Farms property, is willing to contribute land and improvements along his property for this trail. So the green line that's shown is all on the Anderson Farm property. It's not on the school property. It's not on the neighborhood adjoining Harmony Ridge property. So it's all his property he's willing to donate. So with the match that the city has pledged in the last budget cycle, the pledge of $25,000 from the city, the pledge that the county has made recently for $25,000, plus the land and improvements on the Emerson Farm property of $70,000 estimated, gives us the $120,000 of match. With that 80-20 ratio, we can get almost $500,000 in federal funds. So we're estimating that the city's $25,000 pledge can bring, with these other partners, $60,000 in federal funds to build this section of trail, to connect these places, and to provide a first phase of the legacy trail. We can get a trail in the ground. We can get something that people can see and use that's tangible. We do have Dennis Anderson pledging to provide more land donation to extend the trail, maybe in the next grant cycle. So we can get, with that match, depending on what the value is of that match, we can potentially, in the next grant cycle, get another large chunk of money, probably more than $600,000, because the remainder of the land goes through commercial and high-density residential property that has a pretty high value. So, I mean, we think this is a great project that's worth supporting. The county has pledged their support. We have a lot of private citizens who have pledged their support and who want to see this happen. We are providing assistance in helping write the grant, but we can't be the applicant. That has to be the city as the applicant. So that's why we're requesting the city agree to be the applicant. The application deadline, as I said, September 30th. It won't be funded. If this is chosen and funded, the decision will come in the spring, sometime March or April. So this wouldn't get underway till probably next summer. So it's not something that's immediate. We're just asking to be able to put this grant application in, and hopefully, with all the support we have, it'll be funded. But we don't know at this point that it will be funded. So I have a summary of what the TAP grant is, the Legacy Trail route, and the grant application, basically in this document that I gave you. So if you have any questions on any of those, I'd be happy to answer them. And thank you for your support so far, and I hope you can support us by agreeing to be the applicant on this grant.
One question. The old railroad, the abandoned railroad that you're using on the urban loop, I guess some of the corridor on the urban loop, is that the old FNC railroad?
Yes.
Now, how on earth did you all were able to find the alignment of the Frankfort and Cincinnati Railroad, especially the area that runs through, looks like the Mansion Estates and then swings back up and borders along Elkhorn Creek? I mean, that's amazing. How on earth did you all superimpose that old, where did you all find that old rail?
GIS layer with that
Really?
rail, yeah.
And you even had that on there. I mean, even that map, that old railroad line, that old right-of-way on there. That's amazing. Daggone.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw that, I was like, how on earth did you do that?
Technology at work.
I know it's technology at work, but the fact that you had access to that data, to that old alignment, it's pretty amazing.
Yes, we're also we're asking for for letters of recommendation, we have letters pledged already from a bunch of sources, but we have a letter from the Tourism Commission in hand. We're going to get a letter from the school board shortly. We don't have it in hand. From the Bluegrass Biking Club, and one other that's escaping me at the moment. It'll probably come to me. But there's a lot of support behind this. There's a large group that's been active in trying to keep this project moving, and they would be here tonight, but
You're simply asking for permission to apply.
yes, permission to apply.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion, Mayor.
Second.
Second by Ms. Packard. Any further comments? Yes, Mark.
Couple questions on this sheet here. What is TAP?
Yeah.
And when it talks about the 80-20 match, it said the 80% of a project can be funded with awarded federal dollars if the local government provides a 20% match.
Mm-hmm.
Is this something that the county is going to apply for as well, or is this 20% all going to be on the city if we get awarded this grant?
It's a joint project, so the county has pledged $25,000 already.
Okay.
And so it's going to be 25,000 city, 25,000 county, and 70,000 from the private sector.
So
So
we've
there's
already pledged our money up.
three entities involved.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is in essence the grant that Mrs. Robinson was talking about that night.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Mark? You all right? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, Joe.
All right.
Mayor, for the record, I need to abstain. I'm part of the group that's making the contribution, the private group.
Just keep on contributing.
And
We'll exclude you, but you keep on contributing. Thank you, David. Captain Swanigan. Got that. Where's David?
Just one update. I wanted to talk about some excellent police work that our officers were involved in this last week. There was a robbery at the Showalter Shell. It appears like this is going to solve at least 3 robberies in Georgetown and probably countless other robberies in Lexington. It's the robber that was wearing the clown disguise.
Yeah.
We had an alert patrolman that was in the area after the robbery went out and was in the right spot at the right time doing exactly what he should be, and observed our suspect leaving the scene in a vehicle. Put 2 and 2 together, made a traffic stop, and the rest unfolded with the help of our detective bureau. But it was a tremendous amount of police work by our police department. We're very proud of them.
Awesome.
Good deal.
That's it. Any questions for us?
Yeah, real quick, on Hemingway over in Bradford, there's a house that's got a homemade sign in it. It's saying, "Please slow down," with children painted on it. We might want to patrol that or put a speed thing up out there. I see it every day when I drive over my sons or something. It's pretty bad when they're putting signs up if it's traffic that fast.
That area has been a problem in the past, and I'm sure
So I
it
just want
continues
to bring
to
it to
be.
your attention and maybe.
Well, absolutely.
Signage would come from the traffic committee.
No, what I'm saying, they made their own sign and put up.
I know what you're talking about. I saw it myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty bad. So
We have no problem.
the sign's good. Don't get me wrong. They got to put signs out, tell people to slow down in the neighborhood. So.
And
Okay.
I have a thank you because the police helped with our business over the weekend, something foolish that we did, and the police came and took care of it and stayed there till it was taken care of, so thank you all.
Good.
very
I'll be
much.
glad to pass that on.
Yes,
Thank
and
you so
I
much.
wasn't even in town, so, and you took care of it, so
Good.
thank you.
Glad to help.
Mhm.
Scott, thank you all.
Thank you, Robert. Public Works, recycling update. On your mission.
On my mission. I just kind of found out when I was going over my budget, when I first went out of Public Works, I was like, what's this money that's in the contingency fund? And I kept calling Stacy, and she explained that it was to get something started for curbside recycling and to look into those things. So I have been jumped into it with both feet here in the last 3 or 4 weeks. I've been to Frankfurt and checked out their whole procedure that they have set up there. It's very impressive. Any of you ever have any interest in it or anything, it would be a wonderful place to go. Not only do they have it all set up, but they've made all the mistakes we might have made if we'd started to do it on our own and not had any input. So we could bypass all of that and go straight to the meat of it. There's a lot of documentation. There were some things that the previous director had done out there with being on some committees and had meetings and interviews with citizens and groups and everything, and I've been going through all of that research also. Am early in phase one, I'd say, because I'm still in the fact-finding and information gathering part of this. I do have an estimate for what Rosie's cost and how many we'd have to buy to get that, to get them at that price. Don't know how long it would take to get them. I'm looking into the single streaming. There are a couple of locations around that we can use for that. That's at the Festival of the Horse. We're going to have a questionnaire that Kyle has agreed to manage through his booth to a simple little 2 or 3 questionnaire. Are you interested in curbside recycling? How much would you be willing to pay with an option of 3 choices? And just maybe one other question on it, but enough to get us to see what the community feels like about the curbside.
I think maybe one question, it should be, do you live in Georgetown?
Well, this would be for Georgetown residents. Yeah, we're going to try not to ask anybody from Harrison County or or anything like that. So.
Does Frankfurt use Rosie's? They have like
Yes,
permanent
they
containers.
do. One of their mistakes, they said, was they bought a Rosie for every house. Yeah, which was a little bit of overkill, and people are planting geraniums in them or something, and not using them for that at all. So they would say they would recommend that you place the Rosies on request. The Rosies are about $40 to $45 a piece.
They do a nominal fee. I mean, like a nominal, not.
Monthly fee.
I mean, a nominal fee as far as selling the Rosie. I mean, not necessarily trying to make their money back.
Supplied them all.
Supplied them all.
They
I
wanted
request
full participation, and they supplied the Herbies, so they supplied the Rosies also. I haven't talked to any organization or group yet that has charged for the Rosies. They are charging so much a month, some of the places.
So they do. Do they also have a single stream approach? Do they have?
Yes, they do the single stream. And they got most of their equipment, and there's a lot of grant money out there right now for the recycling stuff. Lots. They got their $45,000 baler.
So they do it themselves, and they do it themselves.
They do it themselves. Yeah. Well, they tried taking the truck, picking it up in the trucks, and taking the trucks to the dump site. And then it got to be a lot of road time, and a lot of expense and the wear and tear on the trucks. So they got a baler through a Kentucky Pride grant, which we have familiar with and have done several Kentucky Pride grants. And they got the baler, the $45,000 baler for 80% of that, so they only had to put up that much difference money. They had a building which was already suitable for the process. Which we don't have that unless we can find another building somewhere. But
like like a warehouse or something.
It's just a warehouse. It is a warehouse building with a baler set up on one end of it, and a block wall and a concrete floor here, where the trash trucks come in, dump the recycling, and then they have a bobcat or small bobcat that picks it up and dumps it into the baler. The baler crunches it up. The truck hauls it away.
Do they take glass by any chance?
Yeah, Lexington is taking glass now.
What about Frankfurt, though?
Well, they send theirs to Lexington,
Okay.
So they are
What's
picking
the market
up glass.
for glass on road paving? I guess I've always heard road paving, and I've heard people claim that you can make mulch, some sort of not mulch with it, but some sort of decorative thing you put.
Yeah,
in your
you can do
turf
the decorative landscaping rock.
Yeah, like
and some other things like that. And I think they are using it in some road construction.
Yeah, I think that's the tipping point. If you start to really see it go into road construction, that'll make it enough of a market to make it profitable for recycling to happen.
It's the weight of the transportation of it that makes it
Mhm.
so expensive to recycle.
Any questions, any suggestions, any ideas, anything you want me to look at?
How much do they pay for garbage service in Frankfurt?
I don't know that. Oh, yes, I do know that. I almost forgot that. They have 3 different size cans. Their smallest can is free. So everybody has the smallest can. And then they have a lot of garbage that's outside the can, which is an issue for them. 48% of their customers pay a fee because they have the larger can. I believe it's $17.
Are they red cans?
I didn't see the cans are different colors. He did say that they have 3
Herbies?
Yeah, the Herbies.
So they have so the smallest garbage can is free. And then you could also recycle. And I guess that's free as well, right? So you can go with a small garbage can, do most of your recycling. If you recycle, you can usually get all your trash in a small garbage can. And they pick up weekly, right? Okay. So they do the small garbage can. I mean, in theory, most people who would recycle in such a case would be basically disposing of their garbage and their refuse for free.
Less, yes.
Yeah, it would be for free.
Yeah. It doesn't do a lot for their budget.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it must be coming out of their general fund.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's being supported by the general fund. Because they've been trying to, some parties over there have been trying to get it changed for some time.
Keep in mind their property tax rates are about 4 times our property.
That might have something to do with it. Okay.
They get their money from somewhere because they got some great equipment over there.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Linda. Council comments.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
2 things. Number 1, there was a citizen that complained or said that wondered when Harmon Court would be repaved. So in the next, it's in pretty bad shape, Harmon Court. But so in the
Kyle,
next map.
Kyle's been working. Hopefully, the water company has a project coming through there, and we're trying to get that done before we go in to pave it, rather than going in and paving it and have the water company come through and cut through there.
Okay, yeah.
So that's where it's scheduled to be
Okay,
repaved.
cool. Good, I'll pass that along.
Yes.
The other thing is,
I think we've asked them to expedite that project so that we can pay it.
okay, all right. Well, the other thing is the day job, the weekly job, has asked me to. That last year, the library had something called. We've really got to work on our branding. Spooky Stories at Courthouse Square, and that's October the 9th from 6:30 to 7:30. I've got the paperwork, or I'm going to fill out the form, and I've got the letter from Ms. Palashik. And it's just basically to close off the Courthouse Square from 6:30 to 7:30. We'd probably have it closed off 6 to 8 with no street closure. And I'm just making that request to council.
You're asking for a favor?
I'm asking for a favor.
I'll make a motion.
We're, us librarians, man, we know how to pay you back. Don't worry about that.
You got all the paperwork and everything needed to do that.
Yeah, I'll turn it in tomorrow.
that night?
No, I have no idea. Some of these events they tell me about, it's like, are you serious? But people go to them. It's amazing.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Just for Mark.
We have a Lego club. Did you all know that? Once a month they had a bunch of big Legos sitting out in the middle of the information desk one day. I was like, what are y'all doing? Oh, we got a Lego club, Mark. You ought to come. I was like, I don't think so.
Mark, you're not a good promoter.
Fantastic. No, I'm not.
Anything else?
He be yelling, let go of my Lego.
Yeah, something like that. But anyway.
A motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second. Ooh. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Good talking to you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, sir.
Happy Coach.
Oh,
The 9th of October. If you want, I can run that over to your office and drop that. I'll make a copy of the application and drop it off.
If we want to do that.
Yeah, that'd be
I
great.
need you back to stop. Yeah, put down signs.
Yeah, I think things they intentionally did that last year.
Yeah, I know it.
It's what, a week away from the board, so.
I'm gonna tell him, do not put that board in front of that clock, or raise the clock.
Well, there's a lot of pretty good we have a lot, pretty good promotion within the library, so it should be a pretty good day. Thanks.
All right, sir.
I hadn't forgot you.
Got that one.
I hadn't forgot about you, so.
Pretty touch and go.
You okay? You recovered?
Call her, and she'll let you know what you can do. I mean,
How do you, we were set to put up 14,000 mailers. How do you run it 10,000?
that's about what's in the city household.
Is that right? Okay.